unto my feet, and the light unto my path. I shall not stumble. You make firm my steps, for you hold me in your hand. My strength is renewed as I walk in the power of your name. You will raise me upon wings of eagles. As I soar, I will soar with you. Fear not, Israel. Fear not, Israel. Elohim is with you. Your word is the lamp unto my feet, and the light unto my path. I shall not stumble. You make firm my steps, for you hold me in your hand. My strength is renewed as I walk in the power of your name. You will raise me upon wings of eagles. And as I soar, I will soar with you. Fear not, Israel. Fear not, Israel. Elohim is with you. And you will raise him on wings of eagles. And as I soar, I will soar with you. Fear not, Israel. Fear not, Israel. Elohim is with you. Fear not, Israel. 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 Yahuwah, Elohim is with you. Yahuwah, Elohim is with you.
Hear, O Yisrael, Yahuwah, our Elohim. Yahuwah is one. And you shall love Yahuwah, your Elohim, with all your heart and with all your being and with all your might. And these words which I am commanding you today shall be in your heart, and shall impress them upon your children, and shall speak of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And they shall write them, and you shall write them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates. Hallelujah. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We're creeping into the rest day here now. Not quite here yet in Texas, but it's getting there. It's coming. And a very welcome day. and a day to be obedient, to serve Yahuwah with joy and feasting and resting. And it's a blessing, really. Yom Shabbat is a blessing to us and for us. We rest in Yahuwah's peace, and he blesses us for it. Okay, so Bruce, glad you're here. Yami, Rule, glad you're here. Peggy, glad you're here. Yahuwah's daughter, glad you're here. Phyllis and Lou, glad you're here. Ted, glad you're here. Lattering, glad you're here. Dave, glad you're here. This evening's study here is going to be, I think, kind of an interesting study, really. It's when all religions become one. When all religions become one. And as most of us probably are aware of, world dominance or the goal or the dream to take over the world and rule the world is not anything new. It's been with us probably from the crack of dawn or crack of civilization in the fallen world, probably. But there's always been somebody trying to take over the world as they knew it, even in the ancient days. And we went through quite a few would-be one world leaders trying to dominate the planet. Some of them are Nebuchadnezzar and Cyrus the Great, Alexander the Great, Antiochus, Caesar, Augustus. There's been a few others, Napoleon, Hitler, of course. Some of the other ones, more recent ones. But it's not a new thing, for sure. But what kind of is the desire to have a one world spiritual system of control. It's been tried before. Definitely, it was tried in the birth of the Holy Roman Empire around 800 AD. Constantine tried it. Caesar Constantine the First tried to blend or use syncretism to blend all the religions together under a world government type scenario. So it's been tried. So it's not really anything new, but here in this era that we're living in, and especially right now, it is actually becoming more prominent, and they are really going after it now. And they have been for a few decades, but they're really getting excited about it and really trying to get it moving now. Why? Well, because they tried to do the world governance thing and leave religion alone, sort of to speak. And after they needed something huge to happen in order for them to take control and make their one world dream a reality, right? So, hi, Juanita Phillips, glad you're here, Mom. And so what they did was they planned, these controllers, if you will, planned war and to do it. And so they figure, look, we have to have a big catastrophe. Something major has to happen so that all the people and all the different nations will surrender their sovereignty and listen to what we have to say and yield to us, and we'll rule over the whole world. And so the first thing they came up with was World War I. And it was a big mess. And there were a lot of casualties, a lot of wounded, a lot of bad things happened. And they ended the war, and they began the League of Nations to try to bring this ideology into a reality. But their main problem was they didn't have the United States of America on board. That was one of their big problems. And the other problem, believe it or not, is that it wasn't a big enough catastrophe, if you can believe that. All those people dead, all that land over there, especially in France, totally destroyed even to this day. It's a no inhabitant zone. Nobody can live there even now. But it wasn't big enough. It didn't make everybody bend the knee and come in and take part in their plan of world dominance. And so they thought, well, we need a bigger war. And so they did. And along came World War II. I think it was like 12 years later. It wasn't very long after World War I ended that World War II began. And, Hitler, he was trying to take control and get everything moving in that direction himself, pretty much. But they ended up killing 50 to 80 million. I mean, they surpassed greatly the carnage of World War I and the damage that was done in World War I. And at the end of the war, they were successful enough to bring the United States into their scheme. And so the U.S. did join in, and they changed it from the League of Nations to the United Nations. And ironically, the guy that really wrote the UN Constitution, if you will, was taking the place of Roosevelt and was sitting in the place of the United States of America, representing the U.S. As they were cultivating this scheme of the United Nations. It was really for world dominance. They wanted to take over the whole world and control the world. This guy, if I remember right, his name's Hess, and he was a communist. They didn't know it at the time that they were doing this, but he was a communist spy. So this guy that's sitting on this committee representing the United States, sitting with Roosevelt, was a communist spy. And so the UN ends up being designed after socialism or communism, and it still is today. And the negative that come out of that just kind of like, threw a curveball at their scheme, if you will, was that the United States and Russia and 3 others ended up getting veto rights. I mean, they could veto a law, and even if all the other nations said yes, and one of the veto countries says no, the law doesn't happen. And so this took away the teeth from the UN. It took away their power to make anybody do anything, really. And so even if they had everybody on board, just one of those 5 said no, it's trash can. So it's kind of a weak assembly, if you will. And so they're still continuing today, and they've been working really hard at it for quite a while, really, to gain one world government. So they hit us impasse where they realized that we're stuck. We can't go any farther with this one world government thing. And then so they determined the reason they're stuck is that because of the religions. And so they said, look, we have, in order to move beyond this impasse, we have to bring the world religions into this. And we have to try to dominate people through their spiritual type control. And so they began doing that, and they've been doing that for a while now, definitely since the 80s. And some of you might remember that, that Pope John Paul II, around 84, 85, whatever it was, he came out and started declaring that we need to all coexist or have an interfaithism because we all believe in the same God. And then he went on to say that Christians and Muslims believe in the same God, which we know is not correct. But anyways, that's what he said. And then it goes on. And then, Robert Mueller, some of you probably know who that is, in the 90s, he started getting on it, and he started coming out with it and saying, look, we can't have world peace if we don't have the cooperation of the world's religions in with the world government. And so they came out with United Religions Initiative, some other ones, I can't remember all their names, but it was like a UN for one world government. It was a one world religion, and they would combine, and then they would be able to, at least they believed that they would be able to bring everybody together through a spirituality or type of a UN of belief in the same God, if they could convince everybody that they were all worshiping the same God. So that went on and on and on, and it brings us up to now, and they're still doing it. So amazingly, as well, that I think was pretty amazing is, and some of you may remember this as well, and this was right around 2000-ish, when Pope Benedict the 16th, he was a cardinal then, he hadn't become the Pope yet, but he made a statement, and I got it written down here somewhere, but he made a very interesting statement toward this one world religion plan. And his statement was similar to this, something that maybe not exact quote, but it's real close. He used, for the first time, he used the expression of sister churches. And he said that it must always be clear when the expression sister churches is used in this proper sense, that the one holy Catholic and apostolic universal church is not sister, but mother of all the particular churches. That was a huge statement back then. It still is. So who are the sisters? This statement, what he was saying here was the sisters were all the other churches, but it didn't include the Roman Catholic Church, because the Roman Catholic Church was the mother of them all, and they were all sisters, but the Roman Catholic was the mother church. And that at the time opened up a lot of eyes, but now, believe it or not, they're combining the Catholic and all these Protestant churches are actually coming back home to the mother church. And they believe that they've eliminated all the differences they had pretty much that came up through Martin Luther, and they've been able to fix all those, and now they're coming back together to make all of Christianity one. And by the way, that makes them the largest religious group in the world. The second is Muslim, which brings up an interesting point. Now they believe if they can forget everybody else, if they could just get the Christians and the Muslims to cooperate together, okay, and be at peace and realize that they're worshiping the same God, which they're not, but they're trying to brainwash them into thinking they do, through hate crimes and other bylaws that come off the hate crime bills, that they can move forward, with the one world government. So this is all happening right now. It's all going right now. The world government is real advanced. The one world religion now is really right up next to it. It's advancing greatly as well. And I mean, the one world government, we all know, we have now the United Nations, the World Trade Organization, the World Health Organization, the World Bank, the World Court in The Hague, and International Monetary Fund. It sounds like a whole lot like a one world government is being established to me. And it is. There's no doubt about that. And so the religions are trying to do the same thing. Now, what does Scripture say? A whole lot. Hi, Kobe. Glad you're here. Scripture tells us a whole lot about this. It talks dramatically about it. And especially in Revelations, it gives us a lot of clues that we're going to talk about this evening. They usually go past people, they don't really see it for what it is. They just read through it rather quickly and don't really understand what they're reading. Most people, some people get it. But Scripture says a whole lot about this. Matter of fact, Scripture predicts or prophesies that there is going to be a one world, and not only a one world religion and a one world government, but a combined one world religion and one world government is one. The act is one together to rule. So it's going to be mingled. The government and the religion will be mingled together. I had somebody say to me, Mark, when all religions become one, it's going to be under Yahushua. It's not going to ever happen for mankind. But that statement is coming from not quite understanding Scripture. Because the reign of Yahushua is not a religion. So all religions become one. It's not going to be under the reign of Yahushua. We're just going to be under his reign, period. He's going to be the one sovereign that reigns over us in the universe, his creation. It's not a religion by any stretch of the imagination. We could say it's a relationship. It'll be a relationship. Matter of fact, the bride is going to rule with him as kings and priests. But we're not going to be in a religion of any sorts. So in a way, if you people like to say religion, they'll even ask the Nazarene, what religion are you? Because they think everything's a religion. Well, the one true worshipers, the one body, the one assembly of Yahushua, it's not a religion at all. They're the chosen elect that will become his bride. to be in a marriage relationship, a love relationship with him for eternity. There's no religions involved. No religion required to worship the Creator. So when all religions become one, we'll be under the reign, under the wrath of Hashatan and the reign of the anti-Mashiach. It's going to happen in the last 3.5 years preceding the 6,000th year allocated to mankind. And it's on its way. It's coming real fast. It's in the works. Okay, so enough for the history lesson. I'm going to get into scripture here a little bit. This is going to come kind of fast at you here. And so kind of try to pay attention. It's going to be something, I'm just going to blast right through this. And then we'll talk about it a little more at the end. I'll open this up. Maybe we can get some conversation here about it. But real quickly then, in Daniel 7, if you have your BYNV, turn to Daniel 7. If you don't, and you have another translation that you prefer to read out of, go ahead and open up to Daniel 7 in that. If you have your BYNV, that's what I'll be reading out. Best to follow along in it. In Daniel 7, starting in verse 2, I guess, there's going to be a description here of end time nations that's going to be involved in this one world government and this one world religion deal. But these nations here are going to be born, and they're not born here in Daniel's time, but they're coming, and they will be on the earth and functioning at the second coming of Yahushua. And that's why they stand out here. Okay. And so Daniel spoke and said, I was looking in my vision by night and saw the four winds of the Shemayim stirring up the great sea. The great sea is the multitudes of people here. It's not the Pacific Ocean or the Atlantic Ocean, it's nations. And the four winds are the north, east, west, and south, meaning this is the population of the world here. It's coming out of the nations. Okay. And four great beasts came up from the sea, different from one another. Like I say here, they weren't attached, they weren't in an alliance, they weren't a coalition, they were separated from one another. They were going to be they're going to come on the earth and be born at a later date. Okay. The first was like a lion, and that's England, and had eagle's wings attached to it, and that's the United States came out of England. It's before the Revolutionary War. U.S. hasn't been born yet, but it's telling us that a nation's going to come out of the lion, which is England. I was looking until its wings were plucked off. Now it's after the Revolutionary War, the United States won its independence. The eagle wings were plucked off of the lion. And it was lifted up from the arets and made to stand on 2 feet like a man. That's Uncle Sam. And it was given a man's heart. So we have United States of America has two symbols. We have the eagle and we have Uncle Sam. And see another beast in a second like a bear. The bear's Russia. And notice all these nations are here already. They're on the world right now, aren't they? So what's that telling us? We're in the latter days. That's what it's telling us. Because these nations are all here. And it was raised up on one side and had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth. And they said this too, it arise to devour much flesh. A bear is definitely devouring a lot of flesh at the present moment, aren't they? After this, I looked and saw another like a leopard. That's Germany, which had on its back 4 wings of a bird. This is depicting the Germanic states. Like France is the Franks, they're Germans. The Holy Roman Empire was controlled by Germany, not Italy. That's what most people think, but it's not true. Hi, Matthew. Glad you're here, brother. The beast also had 4 heads, and rule was given to it. That's 4 Reichs, Reichs. And this, I looked in the night visions and saw a 4th beast, fearsome and burly, exceedingly strong, and it had great iron teeth. That's military might. It devoured and crushed and trampled down the rust with its feet, and it was different from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Okay. And I was thinking about the horns and saw another horn, a little one, coming up among them, and 3 of the first horns were plucked out by the roots before it. 3 of the sovereigns got removed, and this one little horn took control of 3 nations. Okay, so the 10 horns are nations, and the kings that rule them. And see, eyes like the eyes of a man were in his horn, and a mouth speaking great works, great words. So he's going to have a silver tongue, this ruler that uproots 3 of their sovereigns and takes their place. So what does that mean? That means that 10 horns are going to be 7 kingdoms now instead of 10, right? Yeah, that's what that means. Okay, so the main thing here is the eagle and the man is the United States. These are separate beasts. They're set apart beasts. They're not a coalition of any sort at this point. They're just nations that are coming upon the earth in the future. The eagle and the man, United States, a bear, Russia, leopard, Germany, and the burly, frightening beast is the reborn Holy Roman Empire, or what we know now as the European Union. Okay. Now, interestingly, we go to John 13, or Revelations 13, and right off the get-go here, it says, "And I stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a behemoth coming up out of the sea, a beast, having 7 heads, 10 horns, and on the horns 10 crowns, and on his head names of blasphemy." And the behemoth I saw was like a leopard, and his feet like a bear, and his mouth like a mouth of a lion. The dragon gave him power and his throne and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as having been slain to death, and his deadly one was healed. And all of the Eretz marveled after the beast. And they worshiped the dragon who gave authority to the beast, and they worshiped the beast, saying, "Who is like the beast, who is able to fight with the beast?" Okay, so here now, several things come out of this. And that is that it's the same beasts or nations, if you will, that Daniel saw, except what? It's in reverse order. The order is now reversed, isn't it? Yes, it is. Okay, so in Daniel, we started off with the lion, the eagle, the lion, the eagle, and all that, and John, and then the beast was last. Well, here the beast is first, right? And then he goes into the leopard, the bear, and so the sequence is reverse. Okay, and they're all together. Okay, they're all together now rather than separate. Okay, and so what does that mean for us? If we really kind of think about it, this is kind of confirming that they are one mind merged into an alliance, okay, with the beast, with the 7 heads and the 10 horns and everything, So they're a coalition. They're together in their one mind, means that they have become a one world rule, one world government. So now they're together, and this is what this is saying. So the reverse order here is telling us that, or is confirming. That's kind of weird. Is confirming to us here now, or it solidates the one world government. Why? Because it gives it first. It's bringing that Holy Roman Empire up, which means that that's the head. That's the first. So this is now it's telling us that the reborn Holy Roman Empire, this beast with the 7 heads and 10 horns deal, 10 crowns, is going to be the main leader. But they're all going to be solidified together into one government. But this beast is the reason that it reversed, is telling us that he's going to be the one in charge, which is going to be the little horn that uprooted the other 3, right? So another thing that is interesting here with this consolidated beast, if you will, and so it's the Holy Roman Empire with Russia, England, and Germany with it. They're all making one world government. The 10 nations that are the Holy Roman Empire, we don't know who they are yet, but they're going to come out of that European Union for sure. So this one beast that's merged into an alliance here is doing what? They're being powered by Satan. The federalization of these nations into a one world body, governing body, is going to be powered and given great authority by Satan. That's what it says right there. And they worship the dragon who gave the authority to the behemoth, to the beast. And they worship the beast, saying, who is like the beast and who is able to fight with him. Okay, so there you go. He's going to have great teeth. And he's going to have great milk. Right now, the European Union isn't really together as far as military goes. I mean, they are kind of like with NATO and all this, but they're not. They're not like the United States. All our power is one. When we attack with full force, with all our states together as one. They don't have that yet, but they will. And when they do, there'll be a power to be reckoned with. They're very strong, and if they combined all their military forces together, they'll be very strong. Don't forget, Russia and England is in there with them. So is Germany. Yeah, they'll be very powerful force to deal with. So anyway, they're working on that too. They're trying to get that done too. The European Union wants teeth, man. Especially now, after what Russia's been doing, they're really talking about it now. Okay. So this is telling us that that this one world government deal is going to happen for sure. It's already here. It's already happening. Okay, it's nothing that we have to even consider or think about, because it's already here. They're already done it, man. United Nations, World Trade Center, World Health, World Bank, International Monetary System, One World Court, the Hague. They got it going on, man. Okay, so Revelations 13 here is from 1 down to 10 depicts the one world system of control, the reborn Holy Roman Empire, and its leader, which is the anti-Mashiach. That's going to be the leader of the one world government. From 11 down to 15, I believe. Wait a minute. To about 14, speaks of the one world religious system and its leader, which is the false prophet. More than likely, whoever the Pope is at the time that the tribulation years began will be the false prophet. We've talked about that before. We'll get into it here just a little bit. Okay, so in verse 13:11, it says, "And I saw another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb and spoke like a dragon." So this is going to be, he's going like a lamb, we all know, depicts Yahusha. So he's going to be like a religious leader. He's going to have a pious type appearance as though he's a good person. Don't forget, the whole world thinks everything's a religion. And but he's going to speak like a dragon. And so he's going to be able to deceive people with his mouth, greatly deceive them. So let me see here now. Yeah, okay. All right, so 12 Revelation 12:9 tells us that the dragon is Satan, the old serpent, the devil. This is the dragon is Satan, so we know that. So this is the power is going to come from Satan. That false prophet is going to appear as religious, which most of the world wants to see. That's what they're expecting to see. And he's going to speak like a dragon. So his he's going to have a deceptive message coming out of his mouth. All right, and it says the whole world's going to follow after him. So he's going to be very powerful. 13:12, the goal is to get the religions of the world to worship the beast, to worship the devil in a one world religion. That's what this guy's goal is. That's why he's coming on the scene. All right, so if we read 12, it says, "And he exercises all the authority of the first beast in his presence, and causes the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed." So say here, his goal is to get all the religions of the world together and to worship the beast. All those who dwell on the earth to worship the first beast, which is the anti-Mashiach. He's the governmental ruler. Okay, so then we go on into 13:16. It speaks of a mark. Let's back up to 15 here. Now let's go to 16. And 16 says, "And he causes all, both small and great, and rich and poor, and free and slave, to be given a mark upon their right hand and upon their forehead." And then 17 says, and that no one should be able to buy or sell except he that has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is the wisdom. He who has understanding, let him calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Okay, so what is this describing to us? It really is describing in the last 3.5 years now. Okay, we're speaking of the tribulation years here now. Okay. Yerushalayim Sheol. Glad you're here. This is speaking of tribulation years. Let's not forget that, what we're focused on here. And the system of control here, or the condition that the earth is going to be in the last 3.5 years is also depicted here. But what is this telling us, man? Well, it's telling us two things. Okay, first thing it's telling us is that there's going to be two penalties. There's two penalties for not worshiping this beast. Okay, and those penalties are you will be killed for it. And the other penalty that we just read in 17 is economic sanctions against you. So they're going to apply economic sanctions against you, or you won't be able to eat, pay your bills, use your money, work, fly, travel, do anything. Okay, and then, or the second penalty as was given to us up here, is that you will be killed in verse 15. And there was given to him to give a ruach to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause to be killed as many as would not worship the image of the beast. See, so that's penalty number one. You're going to be killed if you do not take the mark or worship him. And the second penalty is economic sanctions. I don't think they're going to force anybody to do anything. The more I read Revelations, it seems to me that they're going to give you a choice. You're going to worship or you're not. If you're not going to worship, they're going to kill you. They're going to behead you. They're not going to force you to take the mark, because I don't think Yahuwah would hold you responsible for something that was out of your control, as though you were chained down, tied down, or constrained, and you were restrained, and then they forced you to take some kind of numerical, number or chip or something, to mark you for that you swore an oath to the legions of the one world government of the beast or something, I don't think he would hold you responsible for that. So it's gonna have to be your decision, and they're either gonna say either do it or we're gonna behead you, because there were so many people in white robes that were beheaded during the tribulation years. That's the last 3.5 years, that no man, Scripture says, no man can count the number of them. So a lot of people are going to be refusing whatever it is that they're doing here, and they're going to be beheaded for it. So I don't think anybody's going to be forced to take the mark. You're going to take it at your own free will, or you're going to be beheaded. That's what it appears to me. But those are, it looks like, two penalties that's going to be applied to the ones that will not bow down to him or take his mark or worship him, the image of the beast. Now, a lot of people say, oh, what's the image of the beast? Well, that's up for debate. But personally, in my opinion, the image of the beast is a man. And probably going to be possessed man. He's going to be possessed by Hashatan. He's going to be the image of Hashatan in the flesh, because he likes to copycat Yahuwah big time. So more than likely, that's what he's going to do, because it says he sits in the temple and claims to be Yahuwah. So there has to be a rebuilt temple for him to be able to set in it and claim to be Yahuwah. He also stops the animal sacrifices that have resumed. There has to be a temple or at least an altar up there for them to resume the animal sacrifices. And how's he going to stop them if they haven't resumed? You see what I'm saying? But there's people out there that think maybe it's a cyborg, maybe it's an AI robot possessed by a demon or Hashatan. Could be some kind of a hybrid human that's DNA's been spliced with an animal, such as a serpent or something. Not quite human, part serpent, kind of like the throne, the throne of Satan that's in the Vatican Auditorium Hall. That kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a tattoo or anything like that. If anything, like everybody has a social security number, right? Everybody has a number right now. Everybody, the whole world does. And here in America, we have social security numbers. The first thing they ask you when you want to do anything at all, which social security number? I remember the day when nobody would give it to them. They ain't none of your business. They just would not give it to them, but they freely give it now. But I think it's going to be some kind of digital code that identifies people. And I'm talking about the 3.5 years here now of tribulation. I'm not talking about Sunday worshipers, taking the mark because they worship on Sunday. That's true too. But I'm saying, and that's been going on for a long time, 2,000 years. I'm talking about the last 3.5 years here now. There's something here other than that. And I think some kind of a digital identification that everybody's going to have their own little number, and it's going to be like the Social Security number probably, but more than likely, since currency is going to go digital, we're going to be a cashless society here real soon. Matter of fact, I think Switzerland just became a cashless society. They're 100% digital now. And there's a lot of other countries that are right behind them. In the United States, I read somewhere that it was like 80% of all the transactions in the United States are made digital now. So we're like this far away from being a cashless society. So you'll have to some kind of digital number in order to buy and sell. If we don't have cash, I hate to say that to you, but that's a fact. So anyway, I want to get off on a tangent here. I forgot to put my greeting up there. Hope everybody's following along here. You'll see where I'm going here in a little bit. Where it's going to take us to. Oh, by the way, I don't know if all of you realize it or not, but Israel just yesterday had its 74th birthday. 74th birthday for Israel, right? Generations, 80 years. Everybody that knows about the fig tree prophecy. We're 6 years away from the 80th year, aren't we? That's interesting. Okay. So here we go, possibly 13, 18 here. Maybe here's the wisdom you guys understand. Let them calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. See, he's a man. The image is a man. What type of man? We'll find out here soon. He'll either be fully man, possessed by the devil, or he will be a cyborg, AI robot, or a hybrid human. But he's going to be a man. It's pretty plain he's going to be in the image of a man standing up on the Temple Mount. Okay, it's pretty plain, really. And his number 666. Now, that's in Greek. This is, the numbers and letters. Letters mean numbers in their system. Gematria, I think it's called. But anyway, in Latin, it's 616. In Greek, it's 666. And there again, that, the letter designation for that is the CHI, the chi, and or the I. The X is sounds like a Z. XI sounds like Z. The CHI sounds like chi, like you're saying cheese. And then the stigma, which means stick. It could be a stick, like a needle or something, you know what I mean? But stigma sounds like S, like snake, S is in snake, or Z is in zebra, is the XI. So together, this may be telling us that the anti-Mashiach, which is just the name, just the title, anti-Mashiach implies Messiah-like. He's going to be a Messiah. He's going to be to everyone like a Messiah. He's going to win his reign not by war at first. He's going to come into power with peace and flatteries. Peace and flatteries is going to bring him into power. And he's going to be like a Messiah. That's what anti-Messiah means. He's going to be a Messiah. He's going to be a true Messiah and an anti-Messiah. They're both going to be Messiahs. That's what the title means. What else does it mean? It's exactly what it means. So if you put this 666 together in the Greek, like I said, 616 is Latin. Then you're going to come up with chi, Z, and S. So you put it together, it says Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And that could be the number of his name right there. Now, what's that sound like? Sounds an awful lot like the J man. DKL, glad you're here, bro. All right. So anyway, let's not get off on a tangent. All right. So apparently here in the 3.5 years of tribulation, there's going to be a global numbering system that will carry penalties if you do not comply and make an oath, take an alliance or pledge of allegiance to the one world government of Hashatan. Then they will sanction you. Not only they're not going to be just sanctioning countries like they do now. They're going to sanction individuals. They've been practicing doing that. If you haven't heard it on the news, they have been. There've been people waking up and finding no money in their bank account. Okay, they've been doing it for a while. They're practicing. But anyway, so they're going to impose sanction on individuals as punishment. And because they're going to be able to control them now, because we're going to be into a cashless society, a digital society, and we're almost there. We're just a hair away from that now. All right, so let's get a look here now, quickly at a timeline, so the Revelations 9:15 speaks of a war that's coming. It's a planned war, World War III, and the war they have to come up with something more of a catastrophe than World War I or World War II was, because neither one of them worked. Okay, so now they have to come up with another one. Well, this one is what we call the Sixth Trumpet War. And this war, or World War III, you can call it, is projected or predicted to kill 1/3 of mankind, which is about 2.7 billion casualties as we sit right now in world population. Somebody keeps messing with my cursor here, or it's doing it itself. Kind of weird. Yahuwah's neighborhood, glad you're here. Okay, so here we go. 9:15 says there's going to be World War III, 2.7 billion casualties. The Sixth Trumpet War. What we know about it from scriptures, and if it's in scriptures, folks, guess what? It's going to happen. It always happens if it's written down. If it's not written, we can pray and change it. But if it's written down, ain't no amount of prayer going to change anything. It's going to happen. So since it's written, it's going to happen because scripture says so. Okay, so the Sixth War, or World War III, if you will, begins from the Euphrates River. The great Euphrates River is where it starts. A third of mankind will die in this war. The Euphrates River is pretty much 100% Islamic. There's a dam in Turkey. It comes out of Turkey through a dam that they erected, that they now have the power to push a button and stop the flow of the great Euphrates River and dry it up. So that's prophecy that can be fulfilled right now. Then it comes down into Syria and Iraq. And where it empties out, at the very end, where it empties into the sea, it just touches Iran. Right, the very outlet into the sea. It picks up, I think, if I ain't mistaken, 15 to 50 miles of Iran, right where it empties into the sea. 100% Islamic, man. So there's no doubt then what this is telling us is World War III is going to involve Islam, the green horse. Right? The fourth seal will be involved in World War III big time because that's what makes up the entire Euphrates River basin, man, is the Islamic countries. It also suggests that there'll be an army of 200 million soldiers that will fight in this war. Okay, never before could any of these prophecies be fulfilled, but they can now. Hi, Rebecca. Glad you're here, Gibson girl. So you have, there's no nation on the world right now that can field 200 men or have a 200 million men army in the field. Okay, or even in its garrison. But there are three entities that can, if they want to, call in all their fighting men from 18 to 60, okay, and they can field a 200 million man army if they want to. It is available to them anytime they want to call them up. And those three are China and India and this Islamic faction. All the Islamic nations together can do it. Now, all of Islam faction together doesn't have 2.7 billion people. So there's going to be a lot more people involved or dying than just Islam. Okay, but here is something that we need to get. We need to get this right here. The first 5 trumpets have already occurred. So we're just waiting on the Sixth Trumpet War to come right now. Okay. And the United States of America has going to be involved because it has the military might to kill that many people. It can't happen in conventional warfare. It has to go nuclear, biological, and chemical to kill that many people. That's a tremendous amount of people. Mind-blowing amount of people. So this war, seemingly, because of what the world religions are trying to do, the people that are trying to combine all the religions of the world, seem to be centered around Christianity and Islam. The two largest religions on the planet. And so if that's true, then it appears that Islam is going to become almost annihilated. Why am I saying that? Because of what we just read. The beast is coming out of the European Union. What is that? That's a European nation, a Christian nations. Who's they're going to be alliance? Who are they going to be in alliance with? England, Russia, and Germany, and the European Union. Mostly all Christians, Orthodox Christianity or Orthodox, Russian Orthodox Church is in Russia. They're a Christian church. They're controlled by the patriarch over there. So the end time beast comes from Europe and Russia. So it has to be Christianity still thriving here. There's no mention of Islam at this point. So it seems like to me, Islam faction may be either weakened to the point where they're no longer a threat of any kind, or maybe even annihilated. Because the war starts, don't forget, around the Great Euphrates River. So that's very interesting. And what we haven't covered yet, which we're going to get to, is Revelation 17. And that tells us what religious group is going to be in coalition with that European army, the Christian army, the European, they're there. They're the end time. See, all this happens after World War III. So the survivors after World War III are what? The beast, the European Union coalition. As we get into Revelation 17, we're going to find out what kind of government that will be, and also what type of religion it will be. That's coming real quick. I'm going to hit that here pretty quickly. Okay, so the first 5 trumpets already occurred, right? So there's only 2 events left. The 6th trumpet and the 7th trumpet. The 6th trumpet's World War III. We're just waiting for World War III right now. Hi, Maria, glad you're here. Right? Yes, that's what we're doing. And the second prophesied event is a peace agreement, the confirmation of the covenant. Those are the 2 things we're waiting on. As far as we know. Now, that peace agreement may be before World War III, because it doesn't really say, or it may be right after World War III. And that peace agreement is what? It's a confirmation of the covenant, right? It's a peace agreement between the anti-Mashiach forces, his one world government, and Israel. The anti is going to confirm their right to exist in the Holy Land through the Abrahamic covenant. Gives them the right to ownership, and the anti is going to confirm that. And that's why they call it the confirmation of the covenant. He's going to violate the peace agreement later on in Armageddon. But all right, so I might want to get off on a tangent. So it says that in Daniel 9:27, you want to turn to it real quick and show you what I'm talking about here. It's kind of an important thing to know. So I think it's Daniel 9:27. Yeah. It says, and and he shall confirm a covenant. So it's the confirmation of the covenants. Yeah. And he is the anti. And he shall confirm a covenant or a peace deal, peace agreement, if you will, with many for 1 week. 1 week here, 7 years. So it's going to be a 7-year contract. And it's written up. Does that mean that the confirmation's coming before World War III? Not really. Could be after. Matter of fact, after makes more sense, doesn't it? And in the middle of the week, so the middle of that 7 years is what? 3.5 years. That's when tribulation begins. In the middle of the week, he shall put an end to the slaughterings and the meal offerings. These are animal sacrifices that have resumed on the Temple Mount. They have an altar up there. 95% sure they're going to have a third temple up there, and they're going to do the red heifer offering first, and then they'll start with other slaughterings and meal offerings afterwards, because they got to do the red heifer first. They have a whole herd of red heifers over there right now. They're just waiting, letting them get a little bit older, make sure they don't, black hair or white hair doesn't pop out on them. But right now, they have a herd of red heifers. They're just waiting to get old, for them to get older, make sure they stay red. They have to be all red, 100%. And on the wing of abominations, he shall lay waste. Yeah, he's going to lay waste, all right. He's going to get up on Temple Mount, sit in the temple, and probably the Holy Holies and claim to be Yahuwah. Even until the complete end and that which is decreed is poured out on the one who lays waste, which is the anti-Mashiach, right? Or Satan, really. Satan's inside of him. So anyway, that's what I'm talking about. And now, so that's going to be for 1 week, and then in the middle of the week, the anti-Mashiach's going to come on the world stage. That's when you're going to know who he is. And right after that, you will know who the false prophet is as well, because he's going to do miracles in front of the beast, and then he's going to give the beast the credit for the miracle, saying he gave me the power to do this. The religious leader's going to say that. All right. So more than likely, the temple will be built as part of this peace agreement. I think that will be in that. So this peace agreement is going to, okay. One of the conditions is we get to put our third temple back up on the Temple Mount. We're talking about the 3.5, the tribulation years here, folks. The last decade, we'll just say. So Revelations 11, 1 and 2 says, let's see, where's 11, 1 and 2. And a reed like a measuring rod was given to me, and the messenger stood, saying, rise and measure the temple of Yahuwah and the altar and those worshiping in it. But cast out the court which is outside the temple, and do not measure it, for it has been given to the nations, and they shall trample the set apart city underfoot for 42 months. That's 3.5 years. So that's the tribulation years. That temple has to be up there before the 3.5 years start. And it just told him to measure it. So it has to be there. Has to be. They're going to trample it 42 months. Right? The nations. And the anti too. He's going to go up there and proclaim to be Yahuwah. Put himself above Yahuwah. Above the Elohim of Elohims. Right? How can they trample on the Temple Mount that he just told them to go measure it with a measuring rod if it's not there? How are they going to trample it for 42 months for the last 3.5 years? It has to be there. It's got to be there. How's he going to stop the animal sacrifices if it ain't there? How is he going to commit the abomination of desolation if it's not there? It's got to be there, man. Okay, so common sense says then, suggesting that the Temple Mount in the last 3.5 days or 3.5 years will be under a sharing agreement between Israel and the nations. It's going to be part of the peace agreement. They're going to share that Temple Mount. It's probably going to be policed by the UN between Israel and the nations. There'll be a sharing agreement as part of that peace agreement, the confirmation of the covenant. The Temple Mount, the temple will be rebuilt. Animal sacrifices and meal offerings will have resumed. The anti-Mashiach will go up there and remove or stop the animal sacrifices in the temple. And this is going to happen in the middle of the week because the anti-Mashiach is revealed in the middle of the week, 3.5 years, period. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, that means all that stuff has to be there before he gets revealed. That's what it means. They have to be sharing the Temple Mount. There has to be a peace agreement. They have to have a third temple up there. They have to be doing animal sacrifices up there before he can go up there and stop the animal sacrifices in the middle of the week. And that's when he's revealed. When you see the guy go up there and do that, proclaim to be Yahuwah, that's the anti-Mashiach. I don't care what name he comes in. If it's the J man, the Z man, the A man, whatever man, okay? If he does them things, he's the anti-Mashiach. Run. Scripture says, run for the hills. Pray that it's not on Yom Shabbat or in the wintertime, but run. Don't even bother going back for your coat. Just get out of there. Hi, Larry Bear. Glad you're here, brother. Okay, so Revelations 12, 7 through 8 says there's a war in heaven. We talked about that last week. So Satan, at this point, he gets thrown out. He gets beat. He loses the war. He doesn't have access into heaven anymore for some reason. Right now, as we're speaking right now today, they can go back and forth. He can go to heaven and back to there, back and forth, do whatever he wants. He's the accuser of the brethren. He's probably up there talking about me right now. Okay, he can go back and forth right now. He ain't been thrown out yet. He will be the accuser of the brethren until he gets thrown out, after the war in heaven takes place. And then he will be confined to the earth. And then we will see the wrath of Hashatan in the last 3.5 years. He goes nuts. Why is he going to go nuts? Why is he confined to the earth? Why is Satan confined to the earth? Why is he going crazy? Why is he in such a big rage and he just wants to kill everybody, especially the Nazarene in Israel people? He just go crazy. Why? Why is he confined to the earth? Oh, I would suggest because he's a man. He looks around, he gets thrown out, looks around and realizes that he's confined to the earth in a man's body, and he goes crazy. For 3.5 years, or the tribulation, known as the tribulation years, the wrath of Hashatan is poured out on mankind like nothing we've ever seen before, because he realizes that he is a man and he's not in all. It's a huge crush, a huge blow to his ego, his mega ego. So he wants to kill us all. 2 Thessalonians 2:4 says that the anti is revealed when he sits in the third temple and claims to be Yahuwah. 2 Thessalonians 2:4. In Daniel 11:32, it says that the anti comes on the platform of peace and flatteries. That's how he gets into power. And then Daniel 11:33 says, that the ones who know and are waiting on Yahusha will know the truth, the true worshipers, the Netzarim. It says some of us will die, but many people will be brought into righteousness during those 3.5 years and will do great exploits. Let's turn to Revelation 17. There's something important I want to show you. Revelation 17. Let's look at verse 3. And he carried me away in the Ruach into the wilderness. And I saw an Asha sitting on a scarlet beast, covered with the names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Interestingly, Daniel 7 nor Revelation 13 tells us the color of the beast. But here we get to see what government the anti-Mashiach is going to be ruling the world with. And it's a Scarlet Behemoth. The beast is red. What does the color of red tell us? We remember the seals when we studied about the seals, the 7 seals. The 4 seals were what? The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, right? The red horse depict communism, a communist spirit upon the earth at the second coming of Yahusha. Communism will be here. Socialism, communism, red. So it's going to be a one world socialist government. Okay. And the Asha was having 7 heads and 10 horns, names of blasphemy. And the Asha was dressed in purple and scarlet. So the beast is red. The whore is in purple and scarlet, which, in case you don't know, the Vatican dresses in purple and scarlet. The College of the Cardinals dresses in red. The College of the Bishops and their subordinates dress in purple. And I'll show you. I should have a picture of that here somewhere. Yeah, here you go. I got a picture of it. See if y'all can see this. This is the throne of Satan. It's inside of the auditorium hall where the Pope speaks. It's between the fangs of the snake head. That's the throne of Satan. See, it's got its head. It's half man, half serpent, snake. Look at the cardinals and the bishops. See the purple and the red? Yeah, they're purple and the red. And here's that Pope I was telling you about, Benedict. He's in red. Big old cross around his neck. Red and gold, red and gold. So anyway, I think most of you know that. So the Asha is no doubt the religious leader, the religious power of this one world beast. This means to us, this is telling us that the Christianity is going to be the end time religion, and the Pope is the woman riding the beast. The entire religion is going to consume all the other religions. Remember now, this is after World War III. Islam's been made useless, not heard of, maybe destroyed. Who knows? It has no mention of them. Maybe the survivors have come in and made an alliance with Christianity and joined in with Christianity, or at least the one world religion. Could be this one, who knows? The New Age and occult practices here, all these religions together now, making up the one world religion. The speaker or the controller is the Pope of all those religions. That's happening right now. It ain't coming. That's here. Just the way the one world government is here and being built on and, perfected day by day, really. So here we have the Scarlet Behemoth. That's the coalition of those nations. Reborn Holy Roman Empire, Russia, England, and Germany are red. So they're socialists. They are now. That's no shocker. Maybe they go full-blown commie, but they're definitely socialists right now. That's no shocker that the beast is red. And then the Asher was dressed in purple, and they're riding the beast. Okay, she's riding the beast, right? She's all in. Well, that's Catholicism. That's Christianity. Christianity has become the one world religion in these last 3.5 years. Adorned with gold. Oh, we just saw that. And precious stones. Oh, we just saw that. And pearls. I ain't sure if he's got any pearls on there, but he may have one on his toes or something. Holding in her hand a gold cup filled with abominations and the filthiness of her whoring, which is idolatry. And upon her forehead a name written, a secret name, Babel the Great, the mother of the whores and of the abominations of the Arats. And I saw the Asher drunk with the blood of the Kadeshim and with the blood of the witnesses of Yahusha. What's he telling us? Babel the Great, okay? The mother is the Catholic Christianity, Catholic Church. And of the whores means the sisters there, the Protestant churches. They come back together already. Catholicism and Protestant churches are combining rapidly. If you didn't know that, they are. And the abominations of the Arats. Idolatry. All right, so this is huge. It's telling us that the governmental one world government will be a socialist or communist government. The one world religion is going to be Christianity controlled by the Catholic Pope. And it tells us that the remaining one world religion, one world government, Babel the Great, return back to Babel, right? The first will be last and the last will be first. Nebuchadnezzar's stream, the head of gold, right? Babel. The mother and the sisters, or the prostitutes, the whores, the protesters that ran away from the mommy, okay, will reunite. And of the abominations of the Arats, they're idol worshipers. They're worshiping either statues, Christmas trees, pagan mythology, pagan traditions, calling on the name of pagan gods every day. $17.8 is very interesting. Actually go up to 7. And the messenger said to me, why did you marvel? Let me explain to you the secret of the Asha and of the behemoth she rides, which has the 7 heads and the 10 horns. The behemoth that you saw was and is not and is about to come up out of the pit of the deep and goes to destruction. Yeah, that's amazing, coming up out of the pit. You know, I'm not going to get off on a tangent on that, but I could talk an hour on that one. Think hard about that one. Comes up out of the pit of the deep. And those dwelling on the earth whose names are not written in the scroll of life from the foundation of the world shall marvel when they see the beast that was and is not and yet is. Here's the mind, heaven, wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the Asha sets. How many know the Rome sits on 7 hills? And the Vatican is sitting on one of them hills, right? And there are 7 sovereigns. 5 have fallen, and 1 is. And the other has not yet come. And when he comes, he has to remain a little while. A little while, 3.5 years. These are all speaking of the spirit of the anti-Mashiach. The anti-Mashiach spirit is with us now and has been with us since the garden, really. But when it comes, he has to remain a little while, 3.5 years. We're going to see the reality. It's no longer going to be the spirit of the anti-Mashiach. It's going to be the reality. It's going to be the Satan incarnated. We're going to be. Don't forget, he copycats Yahuwah. And the behemoth that was and is not is himself also the 8th, and is of the 7 and goes to destruction. The 10 horns which you saw are 10 kings or sovereigns who have not yet received a reign, but receive authority, sovereigns with the behemoth for 1 hour. They have one mind. What does that mean? They're one world government. They have one mind. It's a one world rule. Religion and politics come together and it's ruled in a one world setting. Like the dream of man has always had, right? To rule the world. Man's always dreamed of ruling the world. And they've tried many times. Well, this time it's going to happen. At least it's going to appear to be happening. Don't forget, 1/3 of mankind has died. Now there's all kinds of havoc going on. Antis running around beating up on anybody he wills to beat up on. Everybody's forced to take part in the one world religion, and which is going to be what? What's the one world religion going to make you do? Worship the beast, the anti-Mashiach. You're going to have to bow to him. You're going to have to say a pledge of allegiance to his authority, to his system. You're going to bow down, take a knee to him. You're going to take his name upon yourself or the number of his name. You're bowing to that man, that image. It's going to be up on that Temple Mount. You're going to go to hell. You're going to the lake of fire if you do. Whatever you do, don't bow down to him. Do not take a pledge of allegiance to him. Do not say his name. Do not even look at that dude. If they want to behead you, that's what's going to happen then. If you fail, you go into the lake of fire. There'll be a lot of people with you because it says that there's so many people in white robes in the front under the altar, right? In the Shemayim, which means they have these white robes that they're getting immortality. They're going to be given immortality because they didn't take the mark, neither did they bow down to his image or his name, All right. And so what happened to them? They were beheaded. There are so many that no man can count them. No man can count them. We're going to be one of them. So be it. They're going to be resurrected back up pretty quickly, giving them mortality. This is what Scripture's telling us. But if you take the mark or the name or his name or the number of his name, or you pledge allegiance to his system of control, take a knee to him, go into the lake of fire. And there will be weeping and gnashing of the teeth, folks. A very serious matter. Nothing to joke about. So they have one mind, means one world government. And they shall give their power and authority to the beast. They shall fight with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is master of masters and sovereign of sovereigns, and those with him are called and chosen and trustworthy. The ones with him is his bride, speaking of the first resurrection. Skip down to 15. Just go 15. And he said to me, the waters which you saw where the whore sits are peoples, throngs, nations, and tongues. It's not Israelites only. It's peoples, throngs, nations, and tongues. And the 10 horns which you saw on the beast, these shall hate the whore and lay her waste and naked and eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For Yahuwah did give it into their hearts to do his mind and be of one mind, one world government and one world religion, and to give their reign to the beast until the words of Yahuwah shall be accomplished. And the Asha who you saw is that great city having sovereignty over the sovereigns of the Arats. So amazingly here, this woman, this Asha, whom you saw, is a city, but she has reign or power over the sovereigns of the Arats. She rules over the earth. Why? Because she's now in allegiance to the anti, and the religion that she's practicing is to make you bow down to the beast and take his mark so that you're going to be thrown in the lake of fire. That's what her religion's all about. Worshiping that beast. It ain't about teaching you about going to doing all this religious practices. Okay, it's about worshiping that beast so that you go to the lake of fire. That's her agenda in these 3.5 years when she combines with that one world power. So that one world religion is going to be when all the religions of the world become one, and they're going to be worshiping the beast, not Yahuwah. Okay, and they're going to make you bow down to that beast, bow down to his image, take his mark, take the number of his name, whatever, to make you go to the lake of fire. That's what it's all going to be about for that religious leader. So don't fall for his tricks. So the woman here is a false religious leader that is combined with the government, religion, government combined together to appear as though you're worshiping Yahuwah, but you're not. You're going to be worshiping the beast. Why? Because she's going to claim to be Yahuwah. That's why. All right. So in Revelations 18:4, what Yahuwah tells us? He says, "Come out of her, my people. Come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins, and lest you receive of her plagues, because her sins have piled up to reach the heaven, and Yahuwah has remembered her unrighteousness." Yeah, very powerful, man. Come out of her. That means don't have anything to do with that system. That one world government that's being developed right in front of your eyeballs. And the one world religion that's being developed right in front of your eyeballs. It's not too far off. What are we waiting on? The Sixth Trumpet War, the confirmation of the covenant. That's about it. Did you know there's over 1,000 prophecies in Scripture relating to the second coming of Yahushua in the tribulation years? You know how many's left out of them 1,000? And not a whole lot. There's only a few. We're only waiting on a few now. We're in the fifth seal. All four seals, the first four been open. You know, we're the first 5 trumpets have been blown. We're waiting on the Sixth Trumpet War right now. We ain't got a lot of time. If you think we got a lot of time, you're kidding yourself. Almost all those 1,000 prophecies about the second coming of Yahushua, the day of Yahushua, tribulation years have been fulfilled, man. They're here. There's only a few remaining. You know, it says in the tribulation years there's going to be 2 witnesses. It also says that those who have understanding will bring many to righteousness and would do great exploits. What do you think that the Nazarene are going to be teaching people? What do you think the 2 witnesses are going to be teaching people in the final days that they have? They're going to be teaching them the exact same thing Yahushua did and the first Nazarene did. They're going to be bringing the Basora of Yahushua and teaching them to obey the commandments of Yahuwah. There's not going to be a different message. It's going to be the same message to the end. So when we see the abomination of desolation or abomination that lays waste that was spoken about in Daniel happen, or what Yahushua spoke about in Matthew 24, 15, 16, we know, and this is the anti-Mashiach going into the temple, the rebuilt temple, and claiming to be Yahuwah. You may probably going to sit in the Holy of Holies and do it. It's my guess. Sounds like it. This is the warning to us, folks, that Hashatan has come down to this, confined to the earth, and that the anti-Mashiach has now come on the scene, which is the beginning of the tribulation years, the last 3.5 years, leading to the 6,000th year. It's here upon us. When you see that, that's a dead giveaway. You know exactly what's going on. The anti is here. You know who the anti is. You know who the false prophet is. And you're going to know that the tribulation years have begun. Right there at that point. So 42 months, 1,260 days, 3.5 years, times and half a time. It's all related to the tribulation years. And the 2 witnesses will be teaching the same Basora as the first Nazarene did and as Yahushua did. And the last Nazarene will be also teaching it. There will be no new Basora. And Revelation 7, 9 through 12 talks about a great multitude with white robes that came out of the great tribulation, and with a number that no man can count. So right there alone tells us how brutal it's going to be. It's going to be a brutal time period. When it starts, it's going to be brutal. Last 3.5 years will be a great awakening for the populace of the planet. many people are going to be led into righteousness by the two witnesses and by the last Nazarene. Revelations 13:16 said that the last 3.5 years is when the mark or the number, the ID number or their ID number will be implemented. It's going to be a global digital ID in which you do not accept it. You cannot buy or sell anything. There's not going to be cash. You're not going to be able to walk to the store with cash and buy something. They're going to say, where's your digital ID? Whatever it is. That's a reality for the last 3.5 years. So whatever you do, don't take a pledge of allegiance to the world government. Do not take the mark of any kind on your body. Do not bow down to someone who says that they're Yahuwah standing on the Temple Mount. Is Yahusha going to just all of a sudden appear and say, here, I'm Yahusha in Jerusalem or anywhere else on the planet? No. Scripture tells us what he's going to do. He's coming back in the clouds as he left on a white horse with myriads of messengers with him and his first resurrection group, his bride, with him down to the Mount of Olives. There's going to be a great, huge earthquake that splits the Mount of Olives in half. So if that hasn't happened, then you know it ain't Yahusha. There's nobody should have any problem knowing if it's Yahusha. You just watch for what I just said. Then Revelation 16 tells us that there's 7 vials or bowls, which it calls the wrath of Yahuwah. It says it here in the first verse. And I heard a loud voice from the temple saying to the 7 messengers, go and pour out the bowls of the wrath of Yahuwah on the Arats. So most people make a mistake and say that the tribulation years are the wrath of Yahuwah. And they say that, and they also say tribulations are 7 years long. Well, both are mistakes. The tribulation years happens in the middle of the week. It's 3.5 years is all Shaitan gets. And even those days will be cut short for the sake of the elect. And the wrath of Yahuwah is the bowls at Armageddon. So the mark of the beast, the takeover of the world with the one world government religion, that's worldly. It's a worldwide event for the goes through all the nations, right? Tongues and people, right? But this here is going to be on the anti-Mashiach and his army, his followers. It's going to be more localized because he's going to come to the aid of his people, Israel. He'll have his bride with him as he comes back and descends. That means those who are alive at the time of his return, the ones who have fallen asleep in the Mashiach will be resurrected, the first resurrection, and given immortality as well. Both will receive immortal bodies. We will fly away, be caught up with him, come back down the Mount of Olives with him. So we'll be with him when he returns. This here is a localized event. Speaking of all the bowls, the vials, the 7 are really focused. It's a very short, action-packed event of Armageddon. Okay, so the Revelations is not in chronological order. They speak of the same thing, just a longer time frame, a medium time frame, and then a real short time frame. Goes quickly to Armageddon is what chapter 16 does. And the vials and bowls are not the wrath of Hashatan now. This is the wrath of Yahuwah now. Just says that, wrath of Yahuwah on the Eretz, right? Now notice what the verse file does. And the verse went and poured out his bowl upon the earth, and an evil and wicked sore came upon the men, those having the mark of the beast and those worshiping his image. You see that? So these people have already took the mark of the beast and have bowed to his image, and they're worshiping him. And took the pledge of allegiance to his system, right? They've already done it. So when did they do that? Well, it had to be 3.5 years, somewhere between that 3.5 years, when Satan got kicked out and the anti-Mashiach appeared, somewhere between that and Armageddon. Because once Armageddon comes, they've already taken it. Because these sores, this first vial is poured out on them, and they have nasty open sores, oozing pus and blood out all over themselves. So the ones that took the mark and bowed down to his image. So this first vial was poured out on the mark of the beast, and then worshiping his image has already been implemented at this point. That's why we know this is talking about the battle of Armageddon here now. No longer the wrath of Hashatan, but the wrath of Yahuwah now on those who took the mark and bowed down to the beast. See it? Okay, so the vials, there's 7 vials of Yahuwah. 7 vials are the wrath of Yahuwah. Okay, and Revelation 16 is all about the 7 vials or bowls. Okay, the vials 2 through 7 is localized in the Middle East, around Israel, and around the army of the anti-Mashiach. Vial number 1 is worldly, on those who took the mark of the beast, pledged allegiance to him, or bowed to his image, or worshiped his image, because it puts sores all over them. If you don't do that, that first vial ain't going to hurt you. If you'll know that you didn't bow to the beast or worship his image, if you don't get any sores on you. You look around, everybody else has got all these nasty sores, bleeding and pus and everything running out all over them, and you don't have any. That means you did what you were supposed to do. You didn't bow to the beast, man. You didn't take his mark. It's only on those who took the mark and bowed to his image. That's the only ones that first vial affects, and it's worldly. Anybody on the entire planet that did that will get those sores. Vials 2 and 7 is more localized around the Middle East there, against the anti-Mashiach and his army that's coming against Jerusalem and Yahuwah. They're going to march up. They're going to meet, and they're going to march up through the Jordan Basin and on up into Jerusalem and attack. And then he'll be back. So Revelation 16, they fight down that Jordan Valley and up into Jerusalem. Zechariah 14, 2 through 4 also tells us about the Battle of Armageddon, same as Revelation 16 is doing. Once they get up there and half the city's tore down and the women are ravished and all this bad stuff is happening, Yisrael cries out for their Messiah. He comes and he shields them. And also there's a big, huge earthquake. So he shields them from an atomic blast, it sounds like. The Samson option happened. And he shields them from that blast, and it only affects the other people. It doesn't affect his children of Israel. And then there's a huge earthquake that splits the Mount of Olives. It's huge. And it swallows up the army of the anti-Mashiach. The earth helps the river and swallows them up. Okay. So he responds to their cry when they cry out for him. Now, whether or not they acknowledge his name or not, I don't know, but I don't think so. Because although he comes to their rescue, Zechariah 13:6 tells us that when he does come, they're blown away when they see him. Their minds are blown. And they say, Mashiach, how did you get those wounds in your hand and your feet? See? So if they would have already acknowledged that he was Yahusha, I think they probably wouldn't have asked that question. You know what I'm saying? But they do. They ask him. Zechariah 13:6 says they ask him that question. So and since they ask him that question, they must not realize that it's Yahusha yet. But at that time, and his response wakes them up. Okay, his response or his answer to their question wakes them up. He says, "I received these wounds in my hands and feet by my friends." And so they wake up and they know who their Messiah is. And then it says all of Israel will be saved, will be delivered, because they recognize who their Messiah is finally. Great events, man. So Romans 11:26 says that'll happen after the fullness of the Gentiles come in. And they'll recognize who their Mashiach is, Yahusha. Revelations 19:20 tells us that the anti-Mashiach and the false prophet, and along with everybody that took the mark of the beast or bowed down to his image or took the number of his name, will be thrown alive into the lake of fire. And then Satan, Revelations 20:1-3 tells us that Satan is bound up for 1,000 years in darkness. And then Revelation 17:4 says the woman addressed in purple and scarlet is the religion, Catholicism or Christianity, that's been turned into something else. It's turned into not to worship all their abominations and statues and stuff, but to worship who? Satan, the anti-Mashiach. That it's going to be a socialist government. It tells us in 17:4, those two things. Revelations 11:15 says that all kingdoms become the reign of Yahusha. So now, after all this is over and done with, all the kingdoms will become one, as in humankind or mankind, and we will be under the rule of one king, and his name will be one. There's not going to be a combination of religions agreeing upon Yahusha being, Elohim. It's just going to be mankind. We're all going to be united together in the knowledge of Yahuwah at that point. Ain't going to be no religion stuff going on that I know of. I don't really consider keeping the appointed times of Yahuwah as religion. Okay, I just see that as obedience, and we're all supposed to do it. It's not part of religion. It's just obedience to Yahuwah that the entire world's supposed to be doing. Everybody. It's not just for the Jews. It's not for the Nazarene. It's for every single person on the planet. That's why I say it's not a religion. I don't consider that a religion at all. Alan Thomas, glad you're here. And so Revelations 20:4-6 says that the first resurrection group will go on into the millennium reign and will be kings and priests to Yahuwah. So we'll end up ruling over with Yahusha during the millennium reign, for sure, and probably in eternity. And there, if we go back to Revelations 5, it says that the reign of Yahuwah, in the reign of Yahuwah, we will be kings and priests as well, or sovereigns and priests. Just because it's saying priest doesn't mean that's a religion. Okay. Revelations 20:11 talks about the great white throne judgment that comes after the millennium reign. This will involve the second resurrection group, and they will be judged according to their words and their works. Revelation 20:15 says, whoever was not found in the book of life was thrown into the lake of fire, along with the anti-Mashiach, the false prophet, and there will be weeping and gnashing of the teeth. So when will all the religions be one? Is it in the millennium reign? In eternity? Or is it during the reign and the wrath of Hashatan, or the reign of the anti-Mashiach? Yeah, that's when it's going to be. Because all religions are going to be eliminated and annihilated into the lake of fire. None of men's teachings, governments, religions, traditions, mythologies, any of that is going to survive. All the abominations will be gone. They will not survive. Okay, so that's about it. I'm going to open this up here. I just want to do a quick timeline for you, though, just so everybody is on the same page here. And then I'm going to open this wide open for anybody who wants to come on, talk a little bit about this. And keep in mind that we're talking about the last 3.5 years here, the final 7, if you will. That will lead us into the second coming of Yahusha, the day of Yahuwah, the 1,000-year millennium reign, white judgment day, the white throne judgment, and then eternity. So basically, you have, we'll say, 7 years, 7 final years before the 6,000th year expires, okay? All right, so it's somewhere around the beginning of those 7 years, or the first week. There's only 1 week. The anti comes in the middle of the week, right? So the final 7 is that 1 week. World War III has to come. Either before that, right at it, or afterwards. It doesn't really say, but we know it comes. World War III, the Sixth Trumpet War. That Sixth Trumpet will be blown, and we will begin World War III whenever that happens. Okay, so there will also be a Mid-East peace treaty known as the Confirmation of the Covenant that could happen before World War III or after World War III. It doesn't really say. Common sense suggests it's going to happen after World War III. All right, but we really don't know. It's going to be a confirmation of the Abrahamic covenant that the anti is going to say, yes, Israel has a right to this land and to possess it and live here. Okay, that's what it is. So during the first half of the week, we'll say, the first 3.5 years, we can expect for the Temple Mount to be put under some type of a sharing arrangement where the Gentiles can go up and worship, and the Yehudim can go up and worship on their built temple, which will probably be on the crescent moon there by the one valley, More than likely, it'll be right there in the city of David. They're just about ready to come out with that news that that's where that temple was. It wasn't way up there where the Dome of the Rock was. That's why they're going to be able to share it. So there's going to be a kind of a sharing arrangement made, whatever it is. The third temple will be rebuilt, and the animal sacrifices will have resumed. The one world government is forming now. The one world religion is forming now. The market of beast system, the cashless society, the digital economy is forming now. So then, as we come into the middle of the week, in the final 3.5 years, in the middle of the week, by the way, Israel has identified Levite priests from the line of Aaron and other Levite priests. They have all the utensils and furniture needed for the temple. They have the temple prefabbed. They have 2 or 3 cornerstones sitting in a rancher's property. I know people have seen it. They've actually went to Israel and seen it. I know people that says they have seen it, okay, with their own eyeballs. They're just waiting, man. All they need is for the government to say, build it. Man, they're going to build that thing up. They said they can build the whole thing up and get it running within 1 year's time. That's pretty fast. So anyway, like I said, they have that herd of red heifers now. It's like 17 or 27 red heifers, 100% red hairs, but they're young. So they have to wait for them, I think, to get 2, if I ain't mistaken. And they can't develop not even one white hair or black hair. And if they get to that age and they don't have any blemishes, boom, they got the red heifer. They're going to go for it. You know they are. They've been waiting for thousands of years for that, to do that red heifer offering, because in their mind they're unclean. Not only them, but the entire nation is unclean until they do perform the sacrifice of the red heifer. So you know they're all over that. They get a red heifer, look out. So anyway, brings us into the 3.5 year that in the middle of the week. Here at this point, then there's going to be a war in heaven. Satan will be thrown down, confined to the earth. He will be a man, not in all. He will be a man. That's why he's going to be confined in the dust. He's going to get really mad about it and go nuts. Then the Abomination of Desolation is going to happen. At this point, the anti-Mashiach and the false prophet will be revealed without a shadow of a doubt. We'll know who they are. The false prophet will totally support the anti-Mashiach, and he will cause everybody to worship him, bow down to him, and worship the image of the beast, which is going to be a man. He speaks. He has a ruach. He gives him a ruach. Probably going to be Satan. 95% Satan is the ruach that goes into this man, whichever the man is. And then he's going to both speak and kill. That's one of the penalties for not bowing down to him. He's going to kill you or do economical sanctions to individuals. All right. So that's going to be happening. Whoever the Pope is at that time will definitely be the false prophet, and he'll be the adder. He's going to add. He's going to add big time. He's going to have people worshiping that Satan, the anti-Mashiach, not Yahuwah. But they're going to make you think you're worshiping G-O-D. But you are worshiping G-O-D. Ha-Shatan. He's G-O-D. That's the name of Satan, G-O-D. That's why these false names and these fictitious names and these substitute names are so vital to understand, because they programming them into your mind. When you hear G-O-D, L-O-R-D, the J-man, C-H-R-I-S-T, program minds are going to follow that person. That's why Yahuwah prophesied and predicted that for us. How did Yahusha predict that for us, folks? He said, I came in my Father's name. You do not believe me, right? If someone else comes in his own name, him you will believe. That's a prediction. That's prophecy. He was prophesying about the tribulation years, where people are going to follow the person that comes in his own name, which is going to be Jesus. So be careful with all that. Those substitute names, all those devices, all that is part of their stratagem and their gaslighting to make you go into the lake of fire, where there's going to be weeping and gnashing of the teeth, folks. Glad you're here, Yahuwah's daughter. Alan Thomas, glad you're here. I'm not sure if I said hi to you. Glad you're here, bro. All right, so then we get down toward the end of those final 3.5 years. And can you see here now? We're getting like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So far by 11, 12 maybe, prophecies that we're still waiting to happen out of 1,000. Yeah, out of 1,000 prophecies about the second coming of Yahushua in the tribulation years, the end times, we'll say, there's only about 12 left that I can count. Well, we're getting down there now. This time, this timeline is all that's left, folks. That's proof that we're getting very close to the final 7 here, man. Well, we may even have already gotten into the final 7, all we know. Don't forget, Israel just had their 74th birthday yesterday. Generation's only 80 years. That's 6 years away. We might be in the final 7, all we know. We don't know the exact sequence of these things. Like I said, we don't know if the confirmation of the covenant comes before World War III or after World War III. So we could very well be in the first year of the final 7. Israel just turned 74 years old yesterday. Hey, who knows? So anyway, we're close. We're close. No matter how you slice the pie, we're close. So don't forget, the Great Tribulation years is the anti-Mashiach's reign. It's a false reign, and it's the mark of the beast will be implemented, because we know that it's a reality, because the vials are going to be poured out on those who receive the mark or bow to his image, and they get sores all over him. It doesn't touch anybody else. So there has to be something there. And the ones that get beheaded for not taking the mark or bowing down to him is a number that no man can count. You see it? If it was just the remnant of Nazarene, or the ones that were keeping Yom Shabbat, then there would be a smaller number. It would be we're a remnant. Yeah, that's true over the end times, the 2,000-year period. But we're going into condensing down to the final 3.5 now, and we're seeing another reality, a parallel reality in the final 3.5 years. Don't let that trip you up. Don't let that be a stumbling block to you now. Because it says that if Yahusha didn't cut the day short, even the elect would be thrown into the lake of fire. No flesh would survive. That means we could all fall prey to this wicked system, one world government, one world religion of Satan. All of us are prone to fall and prey to it if we don't understand what's going on and we don't come into the truth, you know. That's a lot of information, and it's telling us a lot about what's going to happen, folks. Not anything to take lightly, for sure. So at the end, the Battle of Armageddon comes. You know, Yahusha comes back, his second coming, with his bride, with his army. A great earthquake happens, swallows up the anti-Mashiach's army. The anti-Mashiach and the false prophet are thrown alive into the lake of fire. Yisrael meets her Messiah, her Mashiach. Obviously, the peace treaty with between the anti and Israel will expire, needless to say. And Hashatan is bound up in darkness for 1,000 years. And after that 1,000, then we reign. He restores the planet back into Eden-like conditions. We reign with him as kings and priests out of Jerusalem. The ones that remain repopulate the earth. I think it's going to be like 7 times the population it is at the end. Really. It's going to be a lot of people. And afterwards, Hashatan will be released from the pits of darkness, from his chains for a little while. He will collect up and put together another army from Magog and Gog, which basically is going to be Russia and Asia, the size of an army that no man can count. And they're going to come against the camp of the Kadeshim and Yahusha. Well, he's not going to have anything to do with that anymore. He's going to say, "You what? I just released you and you're going to go back and try to do the same thing you just did before I bound you up? Well, you're nuts." And guess what he's going to do? You're going to destroy, you're going to throw Hashatan in the lake of fire and his army right along with him into the lake of fire. And afterwards, then we'll see the great white throne judgment, which will be encompassed by the second resurrection, of course, where all people that's ever lived will be resurrected, if you will, judged by their works and their words, whether with Torah or without Torah. Without Torah means with their consciousness that he placed in them to know good and evil, in their conscience, to pick good over evil. We're all living under the knowledge of good and evil, the tree of knowledge of good and evil now. When we ate the forbidden fruit, the knowledge of good and evil became our reality. And we're living it. We're living it. We're living our disobedience out. And we have to decide which one we like better. The good news is those who side with Yahusha and their name are in the Lamb's book of life get to go back and have a second, you get immortality again. You get your mortal body back. You get to live with Yahuwah again for eternity and be his sons and daughters of light. with immortal bodies. No longer these serpent bodies. We don't have to have these serpent bodies on us anymore. Why am I saying that? Because if you looked at the human skin under a microscope, our skin cells look like snake scales. They're overlapped, just like a snake scales are. They overlap each other if you look under a microscope at our skin. Anyway, I'm not going to go off on a tangent on that. And after the white throne judgment, eternity reign, eternity with Yahuwah, and who knows what he's got planned for us in eternity. Those are obedient and love him. It probably is just going to be something that we can't even imagine in our minds right now. It's going to be beyond our thoughts and our imagination and dreams. Something really marvelous and fantastic. Okay, so here's the only army I can find that shows fiery red and sulfur yellow and hyacinth blue is Chinese. And they're one of the ones that can field a 200 million army right now if they want to. If they bring all their fighting men from the age of 1860 into their military, they can field a 200 million man army. They bragged about it. Matter of fact, they bragged about it. Here's an invite. Anybody wants to come on? I'm done now. There's a whole lot more I'd love to share with you, but we just don't have the time. So I'm just going to have to put it on the back burner. But that's it. That's about the timeline. And when all the religions become one, we'll be under the reign of the anti-Mashiach and his false prophet, his sole purpose is to get the sole purpose of the anti-Mashiach is to get you thrown in the lake of fire. The sole purpose of the false prophet is to get you to worship the anti-Mashiach. That's his religion. That one religion is going to be him making you worship the image of the beast or taking his mark or bowing down to him. There's Brother Bruce. Brother Bruce, what's up, brother?
Shabbat shalom to all.
Shabbat shalom, man. How you doing?
Pretty good overall. Just hold on. I think I might have apps open. Hold on.
It's been a long week, ain't it, bro?
Yeah.
Seemed like it's been a long week to me.
Okay. I'm gonna stop them. All right, good. Much better.
So what's happening? Anything any questions or anything you want to expand on or anything?
Spiritual turmoil, because
spiritual turmoil,
warfare.
Oh yeah,
warfare. Because over the last couple of months, actually, really since grade school, off and on, I've been more into that thrown into this clique denominationalism, favoritism, and it's all just taking a toll on me mentally, mentally stressed, and I just try to avoid it, and I just know that Satan wants to beat me like that, and he's come close many times, and with attacking my thoughts. So but he wants me to be clear. But Yahushua has made it clear to me that biggest parts of it were Isabel and Python, and the characteristics. Especially, I've noticed that with a lot of people with the Python and Isabel spirit, the characteristics, they don't stop talking beyond their point. They're feeling like it's an urgency, a fear. Like if you don't do things their way. I grew up with seeing a lot of people in my family, not everybody, giving up their authority to the other just to make peace. Really? Because no, but it's only temporary. So it just really wore me out. And all, anyway, I just get tired of it. And, and I went through some mental torture, depression, or whatever. So I'm not self-destructive, but I mean, I hope I never get to that point. But definitely, it's been like that. But after praying about it today and sharing it with at least one Nazi, that I could pray with, just knowing that these are the factors and all the characteristics of the Python and Isabel, and how it's been affecting me for years, really, and just taking authority on it today really backed everything out. So that's really what helped. That helped, And I know it's Satan that if your heart is right, or if you are aiming to understand Yahuwah as well, just kind of like how when Daniel humbled himself. I love that prayer. By the way, he did. What was it? Daniel 9. I love that. That's like the ultimate humble prayer after Yahuwah's heart too. And I love that, because if you're really going to be that close, Satan and his legions, or myriads, whichever ones are responsible, or whichever kingdom of demons are like wake up and are gaining power. They gain it like just relentless speed and humiliation and force. They use humiliation and fear and confusion. I've seen it happen, and I know that we're on the right track. If Satan tries to do that to us, yeah, he knows how to get inside all of our heads, yes, but we're not perfect. We're perfectly imperfect, I will say. But seriously though, I've really felt many times in the last couple of months that Satan was gonna win. That I was gonna be one of those number that could be defeated. That was allowed to be defeated. That's really how far I was thinking. I'm not saying that what I was thinking was right. I'm just, but all praise to Yahusha HaMashiach.
Yeah.
I love being tested, and I love testing my thoughts on what I've learned. I do that on purpose, because I don't want. I mean, I have like niece. I got nephews. Just anyone who is like under 10 years old are very vulnerable to believe what they hear, and I don't want to live that example. I don't want to send an example to them and say what they want to hear. Believe I'm right, and then they accept the lie. I will take credit. I will take the responsibility and correct myself if they believe something that isn't true, and I realize it. It's only fair. I think every Nazi dream out there listening, no one's off the hook if we say anything. This is why I understand that the greater that may should become teachers, because the greater you'll be judged. If any one of us in the Nazi room, say anything, and we're wrong, we have to acknowledge that and make that correction to people and be humble about it and say, "Yep, you're right. I was wrong." All of us have to. If somebody wants to know the truth about something, we need to, for the sake of the person asking, need to look things up, pray on it for the truth, and ask the Spirit to guide us into all truth, or the Rock to guide us into all truth. That's where I'm at right now. That's kind of a nice thing to see, that how scriptures are being broken down, and how and by praying on it, knowing also that what I'm hearing so far in these studies is all true. That's what I've been thinking about a lot more. And so yeah.
Yeah, you just keep thinking on it. You're doing good, Bruce. I see an improvement in you big time, man. I'm not kidding you. We can stick around and be a little bit longer at the Zoom at noon. But I understand we got to go. You got to go, man.
Oh yeah. Hey, by the way, I don't see anyone else in the chat. I'm not looking at the chats, but Lou and Phil or Phil. Phyllis. I have to slow down. I'm getting more tongue twisted as it, like that.
Yeah.
So Lou or Phyllis, whoever's listening, or both of you, is the fourth day what people call Tuesday. I lost count because I got the email and I was looking at it, but I never clicked on the link. I was at the farmer's market. That's farmer's market day for me. So that's why I didn't go on. I just wondered, because otherwise, if I paid attention to that, I would have gone on with a few for like about maybe 15 minutes, half an hour.
He's on the W day, man.
Oh, okay.
The fourth day.
Oh, that's the okay. That's
He's on the fourth day, 11 o'clock. You talking about that Zoom at noon?
yeah.
Yeah, that's on the fourth day, 11 o'clock.
Okay, and that's the fourth thing.
Just go on natsareemlife.com. You should be able to find the link on the fourth day, 11 o'clock, Blue White, live on Zoom meeting. And you can go on there and listen to Lou teach. He's teaching right now out of his Fossilized Customs book. He's working his way through it. And yeah, it's good stuff, man. If you can get there, get there.
Okay. Yeah, I like to. In fact, it's really, I used to kind of think when I had religion in my life, when I was Christian, that I had the right to say everything I know. that this is the truth. Yeah, there's a lot that Christians agree with Nazarene that I've already known, but I've listened enough. So there's a lot that Christians agree to that with the Nazarene on, as far as like the basics, like about salvation, or they don't agree on the name, but at least they believe in Yahuwah in some way, but they don't understand that that's his name. They just use generic titles. There's a lot of things that but anyway, I feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for people who think that you can use the generic names and not do their own research, So, but seriously, I mean, I think this is an example that since Yahuwah created the entire planet of people and everybody's family to us, whether we like it or not, I think he's used everybody. There's nobody, no matter what kind of heart they have. He's used every single person in the world as an example of how to live and how not to live, how to show mercy, and then also how to back off from people if you need to, and
make no mistake. Them tribulation years, that wrath of Hashatan, it's not Yahashatan's plan. That's not Yahashatan doing that. That's Yahuwah. Yahuwah is mankind through that as a final ditch effort to bring people into repentance. It's almost like the extreme to bring people into repentance. A lot of people are brought into taught by the Nazarene. They're brought into righteousness, and they're beheaded for the word and all that. But a lot of them don't repent. Instead of repenting, they blaspheme Yahuwah, man, mostly because of the plagues he brings on them to try to get them to repent. It's like his final ditch effort, man, to get people to repent. Just call on my name and I'll deliver you. And instead, they blaspheme him. I mean, it's insane. So it's all Yahuwah's doing, man. Yahuwah is in control. Everything's Yahuwah. Everything is his. He's everything. He's in everything. Everything's in him. It's all Yahuwah's. Well, our minds can't understand hardly any of what Yahuwah's mind is doing. And we some people try to pretend they do, but nobody really gets it, man.
It's only when he lets us.
Does what Yahuwah does. He does it because he's Yahuwah, man. That's all. That's all we can say.
He only lets us understand a portion, a small portion of what he wants us to know, but we can't fathom the rest of it. I think, wasn't there a scripture? Man, I only remember the story very briefly, but wasn't one of the prophets asking for a vision to try to it's because he thought that he knew the mind of Yahuwah, but then when he had the vision, but then he had a headache from it, or he got so confused. I mean, is that biblical?
I know Daniel said he almost died from some visions.
Who?
Daniel.
Oh, Daniel.
He almost died. He thought he was dead, and then Yehukanan too. And Revelation 1, remember he went down, fell down like he was dead, and then Yahusha put his arm on his shoulder, not to fear. Remember that? Yeah. I mean, can you imagine just sitting there and all of a sudden Yahusha shows up and you see him in his full esteem and he starts showing you visions of the future? I mean, what would you do? I mean, I'd be probably doing what they did, probably faint.
You know what?
See him. I'm not kidding you. I really would like to.
I remember when in my days when I was a Christian, I remember being tormented. I still get tormented by thoughts that I remember of how I've been traumatized sometimes. But I also thought why are these visions coming to my head? And I still do pray against spirits. I bind them or I rebuke them in Yahushua's name now. But one that used to come up a lot, and I was very annoyed at that until Yahushua used my hand to reveal it, was the cobra. And I remember having a vision of that, like taller than me. I'm talking maybe like a 10, 20 feet, and the venom coming down. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what would I got annoyed impulsively? I got annoyed at that. Like, what is that for? And she, and I guess my aunt, she doesn't know. I guess nobody in my family understands that it was Yahusha who revealed to them that that's a spirit of anger. You know. And I really also, now that I think of it, that Yahushua's making it clear to me too that that's also like a spirit of the tongue, because the power of life and death are on the tongue, and those who enjoy it will eat of its fruits. So that's another thing about society. I think be careful with your words, because that actually shows the kind of heart you have. Is through your words and the way that you react, whether your reaction is right or wrong. And especially, I'd like to emphasize this for future reference. If Yahushua leaves you, Mark, on this one, is covenants. A good example of a covenant, like the marriage covenant, acknowledging that I have a helper, I have someone to live with, and then cleaning. That's a two-step process. Automatically, by doing those two things, yes, you are married, but you haven't sealed it unless you have sex. So that's one thing when it comes to marriage. And then when I get to modern day terms, for those who are not quite familiar with that, the simplest thing is the Pledge of Allegiance. It is in the words, I pledge. Because pledge is another word, is a synonym for covenant. I pledge, here's my smart mouth take on it. I pledge allegiance to an object that Yahuwah did not let us break down to, and to the flag of this country. And then it says, and the words, and to the republic. So if we read that, even though I don't take any party seriously 100%, I can't support any of their views. I'm more Republican, but I don't vote Republican because I don't trust them. I said whoever gets voted in, keep your promises and meet some of my values. That's how I go. The thing is, to read, and to the republic, excluding everyone else. Just by actually saying those words, and to the republic for which it stands, people, I don't think anyone realizes that they're actually making the vow of being a Republican. Who do that? It is that simple. To change your views and align yourself with the enemy or align yourself with Yahuwah, and with using those kinds of words and not understanding what you're saying. And by using your own man-made wisdom, leaning to your own understandings. And these are just future
about taking oaths, especially if it gets up after World War III. I'm not going to be taking any oaths. I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to pledge allegiance to the anti. That's for sure. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
It's been a long week, doing all right. Just sitting here talking to Brother Bruce. What's happening, man? You got something you want to add or expand on or anything?
Well, I figured out how to get on here without all the feedback this time.
I see that. You sound good this time.
And I wanted to say, hey, that's some good stuff you got there, Bruce, about talking about, how you speak and how you react to things. I agree with most of what you were saying there. Just wanted to say.
And a lot of it's the Ruach, so I have to, and I have to give all credit to Yahusha and Yahuwah for how they've been teaching me. But you gotta stay humble about it. There's so much room to learn.
Yeah.
No one's allowed to know everything. So I'm just letting you know a little bit of what Yahushua has led me to believe. So.
Right on. But yeah, I had a question for you, Mark.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, man.
Oh, it looked like Bruce had something else.
Yeah, one key thing. I wear over-the-ear hearing aids, So the good thing is I'm not distracted right now with high pitch and feedback that does hit. Because if I'm pulling my hearing aids out, either I'm annoyed at something, I'm hearing, or I'm just like, okay, I need a break. Or I'm actually going like this when I can actually hear. I can refocus because sometimes I cringe at it, and it takes me a couple minutes to get back on track, which has happened the last time that one on Not Serene Life. I heard the little pitch a little bit too much for me, so I got distracted. But once I understand once I got it back on track and I knew where I was, there was no problem. So that's what helps. I've been trying to put my microphone on because otherwise I will not shut up. I got too much in my mind. I'm not the only one hearing. Sorry.
Those are all pictures of in the Vatican Auditorium Hall, the snake serpent up there, that throne of Satan's between the two fangs up on the stage where the Pope sits and the Black Pope sits. Those are all the pictures I was just showing you. That's where the false prophet's going to be coming out of. They already teach falsehood and religion. It's not true. But in the tribulation years, he's going to be totally focused on trying to get people to worship and bow down to the anti-Mashiach. That's going to be his G.O.D.
Yep.
He's going to be a G.O.D. of war. And he's going to come in with peace and flatteries, but it ain't going to be too much beyond that. He's going to go to war and be hurting people.
Yeah, I agree with that.
There's some kind of an echo now. I think you're echoing, Tad.
Hey, Mom, can you turn that down? I think I might have fixed it.
Go ahead.
Mom was watching the YouTube in the other room. She had it pretty loud. My question for you, Mark, was when you were talking about the people in the last 3.5 years, in those tribulation years, and using that digital currency. Did I hear you say that basically you would have to take the mark of the beast to be able to use the digital currency?
Yes, at a certain point, yes. Leading up to it, probably not. But once they get full control, and there's no cash, I'm going to say, and this is a guess. Okay, this is scripture. This is just me talking now. I would guess that after World War III happens, there's not going to be any money.
Yeah,
it's going to go straight digital, and then he's coming on the scene in the middle of the week. So once he comes on the scene now, he doesn't have much time at all. He's only got 3.5 years, right? 42 months. That's all he gets. So he's going to go nuts. So they're going to start implementing things very quickly to get things rolling in order to get as many people as they can thrown into the lake of fire.
Okay.
So if they take away any means of buying anything other than some digital thing or a tattoo on you, it's going to have to be something because that's how they're going to get a lot of people to follow after them, is because they're going to say, we have the way, peace now. There'll never be another war. If you listen to what we're saying, and that false prophet's going to back up his claim to be Yahuwah and get everybody following. You got to remember that a third of mankind's going to be knocked out in the war, World War III.
Yeah.
So that the taste of that is still going to be fresh. There's going to be a lot of carnage. The world is going to be tore up. Not only is there going to be, almost 3 billion people laying around that they have to bury or burn or whatever they're going to do to get rid of all the carnage. There's going to be all the conventional bombs. There's going to be the nuclear bombs. There's going to be the biological and chemical warfare that's killed all the plants and trees and everything. And it's going to be probably, we see pictures of Ukraine. The whole world's going to look like that, probably a lot worse.
Yeah.
And so this is still going to be fresh on the planet, fresh in our minds, and still going to be around by the time he comes on the scene. Because that's going to happen within a decade for sure. World War III, to the time he comes on, will probably be half a decade really.
Right.
Time World War III comes and we see him come, it's not going to be that long of a time period. Yeah. So that'll all be fresh in our minds and on the planet. And so people are going to do whatever they say. They're going to say that there's no more money that leads to these problems. That no more independent religions or nations. It's just going to be a one world government, one world religion. Then I'm the Yahuwah, so worship me. And the false prophet will say he's Yahuwah, worship him. And everyone's going to bow down to him, take his mark, do the digital currency thing, whatever. It's going to be a communist system. We know that because the beast is red, right? Yeah. And we know it's Christianity because the whore is purple and red. So she survived. Islam apparently did not. Those are the two big religions that have to be eliminated. Everybody else will follow in behind it, like little puppets,
Yeah. The reason I was asking that is because you see, like you mentioned, 80%, I think you said, of all the transactions that are going on in the United States now are already digital.
Yeah.
So my question to you about that is, are we, if we're using digital currency now with our credit cards and having to plug, have we taken that mark of the beast?
No.
Okay.
We haven't taken the mark of the beast yet because it's not going to be implemented till the beast is here.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's not there yet because there's still cash around.
Okay.
Now I know I just read this week, I think it was Sweden or Switzerland. Maybe it was Switzerland. They're 100% cashless now. They're straight digital currency, man. They have no cash. And there's like a bunch of countries. I should have printed that article off. There's a bunch of countries over there and around the world too. They're like 97 or 93% cashless. They're getting within the next year or two, they're going to be cashless. And the United States is close behind. But since there is cash, then we know the mark of the beast is not implemented because they're not controlling what we buy and sell right now. The only way that's controlling what we buy and sell right now is Yahuwah. Because he tells us you're not allowed to buy and sell on Yom Shabbat, but the Christians and the Muslims and the world is, but we're not.
Seems like they're preparing us for it, though. Like this is all practice for it.
They are. Exactly what they're doing. They're trying to set the stage for sure. They're setting the stage. They're getting it all ready. They're even practicing sanctioning individuals. Like I said, there's people are waking up with all the money in their bank account gone or frozen, man.
Right.
And they got to fight the government to get their money back, or the banks, whatever.
So to know where that cutoff line is, to where we're not going to take that mark of the beast, we need to realize when he comes on the scene.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe it's going to be. He's going to come on the scene after World War III.
Okay.
Rise from the ashes of the Great War, and take over. And then one of the easiest things for us is to know is who the anti-Mashiach and false prophet are, because he's going to come on the scene with a big splash. Those in the know will know that that's who he is, because he's going to go up on the Temple Mount, claim to be Yahuwah. Boom.
Well, he's going to come in the name of the J-Man too, more than likely. So that'll be a big give.
He very well could be calling himself the J-Man. I wouldn't throw all my eggs in the basket on that. But it is the program name that people have a tendency to following, and it very well could, but maybe he won't. I wouldn't bet on it, but I would definitely be keen to it. And if you see him in the name of the J Man, that's just more proof to you who he is. That's all. Yeah. But right after he reveals himself, he goes up on there, stops the animal sacrifices. That's a big sign. You want to stop the animal sacrifices. It sounds like he's going to go into the temple itself, maybe even into the Holy of Holies, and sit in there and claim to be Yahuwah. And then shortly afterwards, either before he does that or right after he does that, he comes out, whatever, that false prophet's going to be there, and he's going to cause lightning and fire to come down from the sky and do miracles in front of the beast. And then when everybody goes, "Ooh, ah!" he's going to say, he's the one who gave me the power to do that. So we're going to see that too, see?
Yeah. Which, that's also mentioned in 2 Thessalonians. So, where he's going to have all,
yes, it is.
power to do that, just like Messiah would, the signs and all that stuff. So,
and it sounds,
but it's a delusion.
Yeah, he sounds like he may even be exposed to some people before he does that. But because of he's going to start talking about peace and flatteries. So I don't know if that's like in a real short time frame of him going up there and claiming to be Yahuwah or what, but that would be my guess on that. It could be right after World War III, but it just because Satan ain't been thrown out of the heaven yet doesn't mean he can't come down and possess that dude, and talk flatteries and talk of peace and make everybody like him. He
can still come and go as he pleases right now.
Then he finally gets thrown out and he gets confined. They can't go back now. All of a sudden, what? He's a man. He's stuck and he's confined in the dust. He can't go back.
Yep.
But the Ruach leads us into all truth. So as long as we are along Yahuwah's will and Yahusha's will, we will understand when it's going to happen. But I've never gotten anything. I've never felt from the Ruach that we have the right to include our own opinion of what Scripture means, because it can easily be twisted that way. So that's why I'm not gonna. I have no comment on any of this beyond what you.
By the Ruach, he didn't give it to you for not to understand. He gave us, 25% of Scripture is prophecy, and he didn't put it there for no reason. He wants you to know what's happening and when he's coming back. Okay.
Right, but
fatherless and weak or not protected or stupid, So there's a fine line there. I hear what you're saying, but we also got to realize that we're his children, and he's going to tell us stuff, just like you would tell your children stuff,
But, oh, by the way, I'm kind of wondering this entire time since coming back on. I don't know with my cell phone how to actually exit and then come back in, because there's like two boxes, me right now, and then there's the other one in the top.
I guess turn that one off. I think, Bruce. I don't know. Just turn that one off, I guess.
How? I've been trying to, and I tried to come back on, assuming I could turn it off. So I guess leave and then come back and see if that helps.
You can leave and come back in, but that one, when you did that last time, that stayed. That didn't go anywhere. It stayed right there. You got to close it somehow, man. On your end, I don't think I can do it. See.
All right, I'm gonna tap leave and then come back in.
Hopefully try
that. All right.
She's still there.
Yeah.
That's what happened last time. Yeah, I just think that if we live through World War III and we see everything happening, and all of a sudden this person comes up there and starts talking about putting it all back together. He's got all the answers, and he's speaking about we have to do this for peace, and then we have to eliminate religions for peace. We have to have a one world government for peace, which they're saying now. It's almost like they're brainwashing us to hear that, right? And then he starts doing flatteries, using flatteries to bring people. You don't have to pay your bills. We'll start everybody over. We'll give everybody a fresh start. We'll reset everybody. Nobody, if you're in a home, keep your home. He's going to flatter people into following him as well, right? By flatteries and peace. We start seeing that going on after all that destruction. The people in the know are going to kind of get it, I think. The ones that aren't, like atheists and stuff, they might fall totally for him. They follow politicians and sports figures, religious, not religious figures, but, worldly figures anyway. Now you got 2 on there, Bruce.
Again.
You got 3.
Where's the 3rd one?
Oh, you got 2.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what the heck is going on. I guess I can just try next week.
Yeah,
I can try next week then. All right.
Yeah, that's what scares me though, Mark, is trying to figure this stuff out when you have family that doesn't believe really in anything. That, like you said, they're atheists. It's kind of hard to convince them what's coming. And to have them, they just kind of poo-poo everything. That's just that's just too convenient. That's just coincidence or whatever it is. They just don't want to hear it.
So, I mean, I've had them tell me that those were fairy tales, so that ain't real. That's just fairy tales, man. That's mythology, just like Greek and Latin is,
Yeah.
I guess it's just, if there's some people are meant to know and some aren't, I mean, that's about as far as we can take it with our minds. It don't seem fair or anything, but who are we, to ask our Creator why He created us the way He did? Scripture says that, So what we can do is accept what He's done, and then hopefully in the end He tells us why. Maybe He totally eliminates all the bad memories and everything else too, and so we don't even know about it anymore. It's like it never even happened.
Right.
Maybe this is just a big matrix to sort it all out, man. Who knows? Wouldn't that be something if we were just in the mind of Yahuwah? We're just a matrix, and his thoughts are so powerful that they animate, and we're just a matrix in His mind.
That would be something. That would. I mean, but he can do anything.
He can do anything.
I mean, it is. I guess it's possible.
It is possible.
Yeah, that we could just be, just like you said. Oh, Bruce left us again, huh?
Bruce, you having problems?
Well, that was about all I had for you, Mark. Was that question? It was just weighing on my mind, because, like I said, because we're already using the digital currency.
Yeah, but I don't think we're going to be tricked so much as, because if say they trick us or they force us to take the mark or bow down to Him, say that not so much trick, but say forced to do it. You're restrained, and then they give it to you against your will, type deal. I don't know what Bruce is doing, man.
Well, what if they say, hey, that's the only way you can buy food is with digital currency?
Then once that starts up, I still don't think it's going to be the mark of the beast, but I think you're going to have a number. You know what I'm saying? It's like we all have Social Security numbers.
Yep.
I think it's going to be something like that, to where, what's your number, or let me scan your right hand or forehead or something. Maybe there's a chip in there or whatever. something that identifies you, and so that they can deduct or add digital currency into your bank account. It's going to have to be something attached to it that identifies you, and that some kind of identifier there. You know what I'm saying? So,
you know what? Something that came to mind about is our birth certificates. Is that for some reason, I guess, that as soon as we're born, the government puts has the right, to has the right to just put numbers like an identification on, like or code on the birth certificates, and then we are owned by the banks. We all come with a price, because I wonder about that. Has anyone looked into that?
no, I think I heard something about that a long time ago. I can't remember now.
Okay.
There's some kind of connection with your birth certificate, and in the United States became a corporation or something, that you became a member of that corporation or something. Okay, that was so long ago, I can't even recall that, Bruce.
Okay.
I read something like that, though, a long time ago.
But
I don't think we're going to be, I don't think there's going to be a doubt in our mind what's going on. In other words, they're going to say either pledge allegiance to the one world order and bow down to God here, and because the false prophets are going to say that's who it is, or be beheaded, because we're not going to tolerate any more disruption or disobedience from the laity, because it causes war, and we don't want any more war. So either do it or die. And I think it's going to be your choice to do it.
Well, now that'll be an easy choice. I'm not bowing down, but if they're going to make it to where the only way you can get food is to, take that mark, that kind of makes it to where, hey, they're going to starve you out then, and I guess you better have a plan if that.
rely on that.
Person on earth is going to be assigned a number, man, in order to be able to work through, buy stuff, get a job, pay your bills. It's all going to be done digital, man. So the only way they can do that is by giving us all an individual number. It has to be. How else are they going to do that? There's no other way, in order to track all that.
But like I said, my question is, if we accept that way that they're doing that, okay, we're going to buy and sell, even though it's not on the Shabbat or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Are we still taking that mark of the beast?
I don't think so, because I think it's coming after we know what we're doing.
Okay.
That's just me, man. I just think that because, when we read that, let me turn to it. I'll show you why I think that. Hang on a minute. I'll be in Revelations 13. It says, okay, so in 15 it says, and there was given to him to give a ruach to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause to be killed as many as would not worship the image of the beast. See that?
Yep.
And that's first. So it's not, they kill them that won't worship the image. So at this point, we all should be know what's going on. They're gonna, if you don't worship, bow down and give a pledge of allegiance to his world order, or bow to his image, give him reference to him, we're going to be killed. So that's penalty number one, and I think that's your first choice. So everybody that does that, then I think there's another deal coming, and the ones that don't are going to be killed. See what I'm saying? So you're going to be given an option: do bow down to him or die. And then afterwards it says, and he causes all, both small and great, and rich and poor, and free and slave, to be given a mark upon their right hand or upon their foreheads. So, and that no one should be able to buy or sell, which is another penalty he that has not the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name, here's the wisdom. He has understanding. Let him calculate the number of the beast, for the number of a man, and his name is 666. So now it seems like the ones that bow down to him, now they have to take this numerical designation or ID or something in order to function in his society, in his organization that he created. You know what I mean? But a lot of people died before that wouldn't bow down to the image of the beast, and so they got killed, beheaded. Because it says the ones that were beheaded for not bowing down to him or taking that number. So some of them may bow down to him, but then they don't take the number. They realize who he is, maybe, and they get beheaded. But the number of them, it says no man can count. So there's going to be a lot of people getting killed over something here, man. See what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think we're going to know who he is before, because I think the whole thing is you have to know who he is and freely take his number, whatever that is, in order to be thrown into the lake of fire. And you have to do it willingly. I don't think you do it against your will, or perhaps not even. It's not going to be a secret for sure. At that point, everybody's going to know what's going on. At least most people, like us, will know. That know Scripture, will know what's going on.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But see what I mean? It seems like we're not going to be tricked into it. We're going to have to make the choice, is what it seems like.
Well, that's good to know.
This is why I'm actually glad I don't use any kind of credit cards on a regular basis. There are things that set up for me, because I'm on low budget. I'm actually grateful for that. Kind of in ways, no, but I'm also glad that I am. For example, I can do that for paying for food, even for treat myself out to a movie, which I regret watching today. Don't even miss it. I shouldn't even, and then because even in the movie they use it like numbers and like label people, and they did use 616 in the movie, and I'm thinking, you've got to be kidding. And then in my head I'm thinking, they really went this far and started preaching religion and the anti-Messiah in a movie like this, and most people don't even know it. Most don't know it. Anyway, so here's the point: is also I can pay for Yahusha gave me an opportunity to do cardio for the last couple of years, and maybe 15 minutes away from where I am. So it's great. So if you need to use those, if Yahusha sets it up to use the credit cards or any kind of cards like that, great. But otherwise, probably the best thing going on, especially being for someone like low budget like myself, is if you're set up for it, to have somebody offer to help you with the money, or give you alternatives to paying if you must pay for something. Have backup plans, because if there's not.
I think it's a card, man. I don't think it's an ID card. I don't think it's a credit card, because I think that's all going to be eliminated in the war. I think it's so cumbersome and hard, and all these machines are going to be destroyed during the war. I think they're going to go to some kind of friggin' digital ID, man.
Well, there's already cryptocurrency that made it on the news yesterday, so it's just
they're going to come out with it and say, stigma, stick into your right hand or your forehead, put a microchip up there, maybe an implant in your brain, and they can just scan you or something like that, and it'll give them all the information they need. I mean, who knows, man? It's only 3.5 years. It's going to be wicked. See, I don't think Yahuwah would punish somebody for ignorance, because he has right rulings.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know, and somebody makes you do something and you don't know. He allowed sacrifices for unintentional sins to cover those sins. Remember, if it's unintentional. So it seems like to me he won't punish for ignorance, man, or being forced to do something. Even like a woman, remember, if she was raped within the city, and she didn't scream, then she would be punished because she figures she didn't resist enough. But if she screamed, then only the man would get put to death, not the woman, because she wasn't freely committing that sin. So it's kind of like that. I just don't think he's going to punish anybody if they held you down and made you take a mark. Just say it's a mark of some kind. Just say that they brand you. Just say that. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying just say that. Say they held you down. 5 guys, they strap you down and they brand you with the mark of the beast, right? Is Yahuwah gonna throw us in the lake of fire for that? And we were screaming, no, don't do it. I don't want it. And it wasn't our will at all. We were 100% against it. Don't you think he's going to cut us some slack on that?
He's pure love. Of course he will.
Yeah, he will.
I think part of it is that a lot of us, if not all, came out of religion. And every religion does teach in their own little sleazy way. They do throw in some truth that you can't disagree with. As soon as you hear it, they have their own scriptures. They have people who memorize scriptures. All religions do. That's a sleazy thing about that. But then there's things that are false, and it can cause debates. But I'm thinking to myself, this whole thing about is that we used to pray. I don't know how many of us did, but we used to pray to the J-Man, not realizing, not doing our research at the time, that the marks in Greek are chi stigma, and they 660 and 6. Now they all each symbol is either a pronunciation of a letter or a word and a number. That's what you have to know about it. And so when I learned that, that's why I stopped using or catching myself in between using the J name and then stopping to use it. I'm so entrenched with this whole thing coming out of Christianity. I'll start to say L word or even the J name, but then cut myself off and thinking, this the demons and people want me to do that. They want, because Christians were afraid who work with and for me, who are trying to send me all this with those names in it. So in that sense, it's almost like Satan is trying to get me back into using a name that he knows I'm never going to go back to.
Oh, yeah, I don't know, how powerful he is. I know he's not omnipotent or omnipresent or omniscience. I mean, he doesn't have the qualities, powers, characteristics of you. I mean, no way.
No.
He can be everywhere at once, Bruce.
Well, I know that Satan can't do everything. But if I actually thought that for at all, and they said that was where people's power came from. If I thought that that's where people's power came from, that would be blaspheming the Spirit, and then I would have lost my salvation. Because I mean, when Yahushua was being accused of his power being from Beelzebub, but because he was able to cast out a demon, I rebuke those names now that I felt I had to use for this purpose. But the thing is, he said that those who blaspheme Yahuwah and Yahusha can be forgiven, but it's not. But if you blaspheme, it's slander. That's another word for it. If we slander the Spirit, that is where we cannot be forgiven. That is the unforgivable sin. So I'm very fortunate and glad that I haven't done that. But I know that Satan wants me to, and it's getting harder and harder, especially if he attacks me.
A lot of it's just in our because we're human, we err, and our brains don't fire perfectly. Just human. That's all. I do it a lot of times. I'll say something. And sometimes I'll even God will come out of my mouth, or I'll say, something, some kind of old terminology or something that Christians say, and then I'll think, oh man, why did I say that? But it just slips out, dude. I don't think I don't think Yahuwah is going to hold you responsible for that, but I would rebuke it or repent of it, or ask him to help you, totally clean that out. If there's anything in me that offends you, please remove it, or whatever, man. But we're all in this refining process, and we're all being refined, and he's getting Christianity out of us every day, little by little. Man, we grew up on that stuff, man. It's deep. It's deep in our head. You know, we grew
Well,
babies on it, hearing people say it, and it's hard to get it out. It takes time.
you know, it's also about the desire to learn. I'm around a lot of ignorant people who actually just tell me that one day they, you know, that they have a very lukewarm approach, you know, and they will tell me things like the J name will teach us that, or that the J name can help with that. And I'm thinking, we're given responsibility to act on faith. I know that if I'm attacked with fear or panic or pain or whatever from feeling people's demons, yeah, then I shut down because usually I'm by myself, you know. But I also know that we're supposed to be working, like especially when it comes to casting out demons or maybe administering to people. We're supposed to do that as a team. So that's another thing about Satan, is if he knows where our weaknesses are, he can break up teams, and I don't want that. I think as long as we have a chance, I think we really need to hone in on examples of how to apply the gifts of the Spirit, even the assignments that Yahushua wants us that he gave all of his disciples to do. You know, because otherwise, it's Satan gaining the advantage, and you know, I want to be one of that number, you know, who's like within one of the few that makes it, you know. And there's a part of me still that wants to actually see Yahushua return and skip past the pains of death. But then there's a part of me that is actually content once you know, with that too, and just looking forward to that day of waking up and knowing that I can not have to experience it again. I mean, that's kind of how I'm thinking right now. So this shows so much. Am I getting off track though? Because I think this all interconnects. Sometimes.
This is kind of an open forum right here, man. You can sit talk whatever you want.
Well, because I'm just kind of inviting you to my way of thinking, and when I'm thinking, sometimes I think actually connects, and then it doesn't, and I need to get back on track. You know.
You're all right, Bruce. We all
Okay. All right. Okay.
Man.
Before I go,
Mark and Bruce, I'm gonna get off of here for tonight. I just want to thank you both for helping me clear the air about my question, and you know, that was kind of concerning, so I appreciate it.
welcome.
You're welcome, sir.
So,
I'll see you tomorrow then.
You definitely will. I will see you for Zoom at noon tomorrow.
All right, go.
All right.
Yep. Good night, gentlemen.
Good night.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. I'm going to get off too, Bruce. You've been off 3 hours and 17 minutes.
Okay, I need to, before I forget, I need to ask one question here. I know that there's 2 Basards that came out in 2014 at least. Because when I pray with Kinsley, for example, she has just 2 pages away. You know, we're like 2 pages away. So when you give the scripture where it is that Yahushua has you read, could you also give the page number at least? Because then I know where to find it.
I'll try. I got 3 different ones here that I use that have different page numbers on them, so I don't really know. Like the earliest the version that I got from him is gone. It really fell apart. Then I got this one. You can see how old this one's older. You know,
yeah.
The most, but see, I got to be careful because all the pages are falling out of that one. You know, and then I got this one, which I think is probably the newer one. Maybe you got this one. And then this one here is just a little bit different too. It's like between them two. You know, so you can see the difference and see what I'm saying.
Okay.
Difference, and even in the thickness, really.
Okay.
It's thicker, you know. I don't know if that makes the pages are fatter or thicker or whatever, but I know he did a revision on one of them. I'm not sure which one it is. Probably this one. This is probably the revision. So you can see this is newer.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably never remember to do that, brother. Just flip. If I give you a page, if it's not there, then you know it's probably before or after. It's got to be within 2 or 3 pages.
I'll interrupt everything and raise my hand, or I'll just say, wait a minute.
What page are you on, Mark?
I don't want to be lost. I don't want to be lost.
Well, I can't find it. I'm on 121.
I see people. I see people in the chat sometimes asking that, like, what page or where did you say that you were at? I just want to be on the same page. I don't want to get too far off. That's all. All right, been a pleasure as always. Good night, all.
Thanks, Bruce. Love you, man.
All right. You too.
All righty, everybody. That wraps up this evening's Torah portion study. And I hope everybody got as much out of that as I did. And boy, I had a whole lot more I could add it in there, but I didn't want to draw it out. So we'll put it on the back burner and we'll come back and revisit this a little bit, and some other time. So much to talk about, so many things going on right now in this era we're in. It's a really great time to be alive on the earth. And I think we're all have the possibility of being around to see the second coming of Yahushua. I really do. Everything just seems to be advancing speedily toward it. And it's, like I say, we're just waiting for that sixth trumpet to sound now. That starts World War III. You see that happen, we're really, really close. Definitely within a decade of his return at that point. Probably 6 years away. Or 5 years away, and probably even closer, but definitely within a decade. And the confirmation of the covenant, hopefully we get to see that or hear about that, because that's a big sign too, that the final seven is coming on us when we say that. So see the anti-Mashiach and the false prophet go up on the Temple Mount, stop at the animal sacrifices, claim to be Yahuwah, make people bow down to his image up there. We're within the 3.5 year period, middle of the week leading to the second coming, 3.5 years preceding the second coming of Yahushua. Okay, so there's some signs to be watching for. Those are big signs, but we're running out of signs. We don't have very many left to look for. I mean, we're getting down there. So anyway, thank you for everybody for coming on this evening and hanging out with me and with the rest of the Netzarim. Thank you for coming into the chat room and chattering up a storm and being nice to each other and showing love to each other. And thank Yahushua for coming in here and teaching us this evening. And I'll see a lot of you tomorrow on NetzarimLife.com for the Zoom at noon. And we're going to wrap up and do a conclusion on the Daniel and Revelation study at the Zoom at noon meeting tomorrow. And other than that, remember to stay in love with Yahushua. So long, Netzarim. So long, beloved of Yahuwah.